leave this matter to me. However, young Master Liang, if someone in the Heavenly River group can really help us get the recipe for the orange fruit, what price will you pay? Liang Fengshan thought for a while and said, 20 million. We will use this price as the limit. As for the specifics, you can do it. He stretched out his arm. All right, I have something else to do, so I'll be leaving first. Help me keep an eye on the company's matters. Jukin Sutaku immediately bowed and said, Yes, young Master Liang. I understand. Liang Fengshan stood up and walked towards the door with his arm around the shoulder of the female secretary called Dong Na. When he reached the door, he suddenly turned around and said to Jukin Sutaku, Zong Zhe, as long as you follow me peacefully, I won't treat you badly. However, if you have any disloyalty, humph, humph, humph. You know that if it wasn't for me, you would still be in prison. If I can get you out, I can get you back, understand? Got it, young Master Liang. Jukin Sutaku lowered his head and said. On the other side, Zhou Hao had already left Huayu village and returned to Xiang City with Yin Qingqing. After Zhao Yuqin found out that the person who bought over a dozen large beverage companies was Liang Fengshan, Zhou Hao was also somewhat surprised. Of course, he knew Liang Fengshan would not forget his grudge with him, but he did not expect Liang Fengshan to be so generous. He had bought over a dozen beverage companies that were worth hundreds of millions in one go. Zhao Yuqin told Zhou how that Liang Fengshan also integrated those dozen beverage companies into a Fengshan group. According to the combined beverage companies, the Fengshan group was very powerful. Their total assets were not only large multinational companies like Coca-Cola, but also the big brother of domestic beverage companies. They were not even comparable to Zhou Hao's Heavenly River Drink Group. However, the overall strength of a company did not depend on its total assets. For example, in terms of branding and fame, the Fengshan Group could not compare with the Heavenly River Drink Group, which had become popular all over the country. Zhou Hao also knew that the reason Liang Fengshan founded the Fengshan Group was not only because he wanted to make money, but also because he wanted to compete with him. With Liang Fengshan's ability, it wasn't difficult for him to find out that the mastermind behind the Heavenly River was Zhou Hao. However, Zhou Hao wasn't worried at all because the Heavenly River was developing very quickly. Fruit and orange had swept across the domestic beverage market. Even the several types of fruit juice introduced by the Heavenly River were welcomed by many consumers, which made the Heavenly River mineral water famous. Now, it had officially expanded to the market in the north. In addition, Heavenly River and the Iced Tea series were the trump cards. Zhou Hao was confident that as long as the Iced Tea series was introduced, Sky River would have a stable position in the domestic beverage industry. Furthermore, Zhou Hao knew that in the future, the black tea and green tea in China would be very popular in all the countries in the world because of its health and health effects. Therefore, Zhou Hao's goal was not just the domestic market but to rush out of China and let Sky River's tea beverages occupy the beverage market in the world, or even become another Coca-Cola. Since Zhou Liren had moved to the Huayu village, Zhou Hao also moved back to his home in Lakeview Manor. During the past few days at home, Yin Tong often mentioned Zhou Liren to Zhou Hao, saying that Zhou Liren had decided to change his ways and let Zhou Hao give him a chance. However, Zhou Hao's impression of his father was very difficult to change. He did not want to argue with Yin Tong, so he returned to his room in frustration. At the same time, Zhou Hao received a call from Gao Jingyi. Zhou Hao. Gao Jingyi called Zhou Hao softly over the phone. Jingyi, what's the matter? Zhou Hao asked with a smile. Gao Jingyi had expressed her feelings to Zhou Hao before, and after that intimate interaction in the school's medical room, the two of them were in a vague and ambiguous state. They did not reach the level of lovers, but they were also more than ordinary friends. In class, Gao Jingyi had not displayed anything, but when the two of them were alone, Gao Jingyi would often blush and her behavior would also become bashful. She was completely different from the cold and decisive her in the past. Gao Jingyi said on the phone, I will be going to America tomorrow. Zhou Hao was shocked in his heart. He just remembered that Gao Jingyi would be leaving Xiang City and going to America this month. He had been busy with the matter of Sky River, so he forgot that Gao Jingyi wanted to go abroad for a while. Or perhaps, he subconsciously did not want Gao Jingyi to go abroad, so he denied this fact. Jingyi, you. After having an affair with Gao Jingyi, Zhou Hao felt that although they were not intimate lovers yet, there was already a thread of love between the two of them. Hence, when he heard that Gao Jingyi was leaving tomorrow, a strong reluctance to part arose in his heart. Can you come out tonight? Gao Jingyi asked over the phone. Yes, no problem. Zhou Hao immediately said. When and where? Tonight at 8 o'clock, in front of the school gate. After the call with Gao Jingyi, Li Rulin called again. Xiao Hao, Jingyi is leaving tomorrow, do you know? I know. Li Rulin sighed and said, Actually, we are also very reluctant to part with her. The classmates in the class originally wanted to hold a farewell party for her, but Jingyi refused. I know her character. She originally did not like lively events, and also could not stand the reluctant gazes of the classmates in the class. But I think she'll come looking for you. After all, she has liked you for so long. I've already looked for her, Zhou Hao smiled bitterly. She asked me to go out with her tonight. Then you can accompany her for a while. Li Ruolin said hesitantly. However, you are not allowed to mess around. Jing Yi is not an adult yet, and her father is the mayor. If you dare to mess around, Mayor Gao will not let you go. Zhou Hao said helplessly, Sister Lan, am I that kind of man in your heart? Isn't that so? Li Ruolin snorted in anger. In fact, she could tell that the three most beautiful girls in the class were all in love with Zhou Hao. It was impossible to say that she did not have any thoughts in her heart, but Li Ruolin was not the kind of woman who would cry, make a scene, and hang herself. She also accepted the fact that Zhou Hao was haunted by peach blossoms. So at most, she could only play around with Zhou Hao and express her dissatisfaction. Therefore, at 8 o'clock in the evening, Zhou Hao drove to the school gate of Yining Middle School. He knew that girls would need time to dress up when they went out. They would usually come a little later than the appointed time. However, Zhou Hao had always been punctual, so he still arrived at 8 o'clock on time. However, what surprised him was that when he arrived in front of the Yining Middle School's door, he saw Gao Jingyi already waiting there. Furthermore, Gao Jingyi's attire today was very different from usual. In Zhou Hao's impression, Gao Jingyi had always been wearing the school uniform. It was the typical image of a good girl. However, at this moment, Gao Jingyi was wearing a white short-sleeved shirt on the bed with a light blue long dress. She was wearing a pair of pink autumn shoes with a flat bottom, slightly exposing her white and cute back. Gao Jingyi was dressed in such a manner. She was casual and pure. In particular, she was originally a very beautiful girl, so the young men who passed by all looked at her. Under their gazes, Gao Jingyi, who had always been cold, also seemed to be a little shy. She lowered her head slightly and did not dare to look around, so she did not notice Zhou Hao driving over. Zhou Hao got out of the car and walked straight to Gao Jingyi. He looked at her from head to toe for a long time before smiling and saying, Jingyi, you are so beautiful today. Gao Jingyi heard Zhou Hao's voice suddenly and trembled slightly. Then she looked up and saw Zhou Hao in front of her. Because he wasn't going to school, Zhou Hao didn't wear his school uniform. Instead, as usual, he wore a light blue casual suit shirt and dark blue straight jeans. It showed off his tall and straight figure very well. Nowadays, horn pants were still popular. Therefore, Zhou Hao's attire was rather special among the young people on the street. It was just him. If it was someone else wearing it, in the eyes of the pedestrians wearing horn pants, he would be a weirdo. However, because Zhou Hao's appearance and temperament were excellent, his attire gave him a unique charm, making him stand out among the men around him. Therefore, when Gao Jingyi raised her head and saw Zhou Hao, she was slightly stunned. Then, her cheeks blushed, making her look even more beautiful and charming. Gao Jingyi glanced at Zhou Hao. This was also the first time Gao Jingyi had seen him in a uniform outside of his school uniform. Furthermore, compared to his peers, Zhou Hao was so different. At this moment, looking at Zhou Hao's gentle smile under the night sky and the surrounding neon lights, Gao Jingyi felt her heart beating much faster. Bang, bang, bang. That heart seemed to want to jump out of her chest. Gao Jingyi's cheeks were hot, worried that her heart would not be heard by Zhou Hao. If that was the case, it would be so embarrassing. Where are we? Zhou Hao looked at Gao Jingyi, who had her head lowered, and asked. I want to go shopping, Gao Jingyi quickly said. In front of Zhou Hao, she felt a kind of nervousness that she had never felt before. It was even more intense than when she was taking the exam. Okay. Zhou Hao replied with a smile and walked forward side by side with Gao Jingyi. Walking down a street from Yining Middle School was the pedestrian street of Xiang City. It was also the shopping and entertainment center of Xiang City. Along with the development of Xiang City, this area became more and more prosperous. Not only were there many shops, but there were also many shops. There were also many other places like karaoke and recreation centers. Many young people liked to shop around this area. Zhou Hao and Gao Jingyi walked on the street and became the focus of the surrounding pedestrians because their appearances were very outstanding. They were a typical pair of handsome men and beautiful women. However, Gao Jingyi kept her head down and did not say anything. She did not dare to look forward at all. Obviously, this was the first time she went shopping with a boy. Walking beside Gao Jingyi and seeing her rare shy appearance, Zhou Hao also felt that it was pleasing to the eye. Beep, beep. Suddenly, the sound of a horn was heard. He saw a light on the left side, followed by the sound of an engine. It was a motorcycle that was speeding towards them. Gao Jingyi kept her head down, so she did not see it. She continued to walk forward. "Jingyi, be careful." Zhou Hao shouted and grabbed Gao Jingyi's hand to pull her back. The motorcycle passed by Gao Jingyi, and the sound of the driver getting farther and farther could be heard. "You have eyes when you walk." Gao Jingyi was obviously frightened, and her face looked a little pale. Zhou Hao asked with concern, "Jingyi, are you all right?" Gao Jingyi only came back to her senses when she heard Zhou Hao's extremely magnetic voice. She pursed her lips and shook her head. She suddenly felt that her hand was surrounded by a soft and warm texture. When she looked down, she discovered that her hand was being grabbed by Zhou Hao's wide and warm palm. Her heart instantly trembled. Her hand moved slightly, but she did not pull it back from Zhou Hao's hand in the end. Zhou Hao also did not have the intention of letting go, so he naturally held Gao Jingyi's hand and continued to walk. This time, Gao Jingyi lowered her head even more, as if everyone was looking at the two of them. She secretly thought, "Now Zhou Hao and I are like this. Are we considered a couple? Handsome, handsome, come and take a look. It's a very beautiful ring. Buy one for your girlfriend." When they passed by a stall, the short boss waved at Zhou Hao and Zhou Hao. Gao Jingyi could not help but look at the stall and saw that there were many small accessories on the wooden board. There were rings, earrings, and necklaces. Although they were not expensive, they were delicate and cute. Zhou Hao stopped when he saw Gao Jingyi was attracted by them. The boss also tried his best to promote his products. "Handsome, your girlfriend is so beautiful. You can buy a ring for her. I'll give it to you at a cheaper price, okay?" Gao Jingyi didn't say anything when she heard the boss say she was Zhou Hao's girlfriend. She just lowered her head slightly and didn't say anything. Her eyes were fixed on a ring that reflected a bright metallic luster. "Boss, take that ring and take a look," Zhou Hao immediately said to the boss. "All right." The boss quickly gave the ring Gao Jingyi wanted to Zhou Hao. This ring was neither gold nor silver. It should have been made from ordinary stainless steel. There were no patterns or designs on it. It looked like a unique iron ring. However, although this ring was monotonous, it still had a simple and generous taste. Zhou Hao saw that Gao Jingyi's eyes were still on the ring. He also saw that the size of the ring was relatively small. It seemed to match Gao Jingyi's slender fingers. He asked the boss, "How much is this?" "It was originally 100 renminbi," the boss said, "but I saw that your little girlfriend was so handsome. I'll count you as 50. Zhou Hao heard this and laughed in his heart. Such a stainless steel ring only cost a few yuan, and the boss even showed a pained expression. However, Zhou Hao didn't bargain and directly handed over a 50 yuan note. Because if one were to haggle over the price in this aspect, it would appear that they did not care about Gao Jingyi. Furthermore, Zhou Hao did not need to be careful when spending $1 like in his previous life. "This is for you." Zhou Hao held the ring and smiled at Gao Jingyi. Under the colorful neon lights, Gao Jingyi looked at Zhou Hao. She felt that everything around her seemed to become hazy. The ring on Zhou Hao's hand was also shining. It was even more dazzling than those expensive diamond rings. "Yes." Gao Jingyi nodded lightly. "Shall I put it on for you?" Zhou Hao also smiled. Gao Jingyi hesitated for a moment, then reached out her right hand. She hesitated about which finger to put the ring on, because each finger had a different meaning. Zhou Hao did not think too much about it. He put the ring on Gao Jingyi's right ring finger. Gao Jingyi gasped because she knew what the ring finger represented. She saw the ring on Gao Jingyi's finger. It was neither too big nor too small, as if it was customized for her. "Let's go." Zhou Hao held her hand again, the smile on his face still the same. The two of them continued to stroll around the colorful shopping center. Zhou Hao and Gao Jingyi felt unusually quiet, as if they were the only ones left in the entire world. For some reason, Gao Jingyi seemed to be much more relaxed and no longer lowered her head. She raised her head and looked forward, casting a charming smile at Zhou Hao. After strolling for a while, Zhou Hao saw that Gao Jingyi seemed to be a little tired, so he brought her to a unique beverage store. "Is this your first time out shopping?" Zhou Hao chatted with her. Gao Jingyi held a straw and slowly stirred the glass of sparkling grape juice in front of her. She said to Zhou Hao, "No, Mom sometimes takes me shopping too." "No, but this is the first time I go shopping with a boy." "Then I am honored." Zhou Hao smiled. "Of course," Zhou Hao said. Gao Jingyi smiled when she saw Zhou Hao smile. At the same time, Zhou Hao saw a familiar figure on the street outside. The person was tall and slender, with long hair hanging down to his waist. He had an extremely classical and beautiful face. There was also a long black windbreaker. This person was the First Army, 4th boss, Li Shuihan. Realizing that Zhou Hao's gaze was different, Gao Jingyi followed his gaze and saw Li Shuihan outside. She recognized Li Shuihan as the woman who knew martial arts the last time Zhou Hao sent her home. Zhou Hao also knew her. However, seeing Li Shuihan wearing a trench coat in midsummer, Gao Jingyi could not help but ask Zhou Hao curiously, "Why is she wearing that on such a hot day?" Zhou Hao smiled, "I don't know either. Maybe it is her hobby." Actually, what he said was not wrong. It was indeed Li Shuihan's hobby. However, Zhou Hao knew that Li Shuihan's internal cultivation had reached the stage where she was immune to cold and heat. The cold and hot weather was the same for her. Zhou Hao and Li Shuihan saw Li Shuihan, but Li Shuihan did not see Zhou Hao and the others. Furthermore, Zhou Hao saw Li Shuihan holding an exquisite paper bag in her hand. Looking at the symbol on the paper bag, it seemed to be a famous cosmetic brand. This opened Zhou Hao's eyes, because Li Shuihan gave him the impression that she was a very cold and elegant woman. Li Shuihan's coldness was different from Gao Jingyi's. Gao Jingyi's coldness was more like a kind of aloofness than coldness. On the other hand, Li Shuihan's typical coldness was even a little unreasonable. 3. When she first saw Li Shuihan, she did not even blink when she asked her subordinates to castrate the Wind Devil Clan ninja. This kind of coldness and cruelty shocked Zhou Hao very much. She was also a snake and scorpion beauty. Compared to Nanami Keiru's scheming, Li Shuihan displayed viciousness in her actions, especially her face that was like a classical beauty. It was even more different from her cold and vicious personality. Even such a woman would buy cosmetics, which made Zhou Hao very surprised. At this time, Zhou Hao saw an old woman walking past Li Shuihan with a walking stick and suddenly fell towards her when she passed by. Li Shuihan was highly skilled in martial arts and had quick reflexes. She immediately reached out to support the old woman. Unexpectedly, the old woman still fell to the ground after being supported by Li Shuihan. Even the walking stick in her hand fell. Then, she hugged Li Shuihan's leg and cried loudly, "She hit me, this old woman, to death. You little girl, you are so cruel. You want to hit me to death." Even though Li Shuihan was number 4 of the First Army and had a lot of experience in fighting enemies, she was still stunned by the actions of the old hag. She frowned. The surrounding pedestrians heard the loud shout of the old woman, and all of them stopped to watch the show. "Mom, what's wrong? Who was so bold as to knock you down?" A tall and strong man squeezed out from the crowd and quickly ran to the old woman's side. Zhou Hao, who was on the other side, immediately understood what was going on. It was obvious that Li Shuihan had encountered a blackmailer. Sure enough, the brawny man stood up and spoke kindly to Li Shuihan, who was almost as tall as him. "You dirty wife. How dare you knock my mother down? Do you know that her waist bone is not good enough, and she will easily get hurt?" However, Zhou Hao noticed that after the burly man saw Li Shuihan's stunning beauty, his expression froze and a hint of astonishment flashed across his eyes. Li Shuihan only looked at him coldly. Zhou Hao, who was far away, could also feel the bone-piercing coldness in Li Shuihan's eyes, let alone the burly man who was facing her face to face. "You? Why are you staring at me? It was clearly you who was in the wrong." The strong man also felt that Li Shuihan's eyes were not right and shouted with some guilt. Li Shuihan lightly said, "I did not hit her. She fell on the ground by herself." That old hag was still hugging Li Shuihan's leg, so she did not see her eyes. Hence, she cried even harder and shouted, "You little girl, your words are so unreasonable. If you did not hit me, how would I have fallen? Oh my waist bone. It hurts so much. Son, quickly take me to the hospital." The brawny man saw that Li Shuihan did not panic at all. The way she looked at him was no different from looking at a little sheep. It made the brawny man have an illusion that he was the prey that was targeted by others. However, although Li Shuihan was 1.8 meters tall and was almost on par with him, the brawny man still did not believe it. What could a weak girl like Li Shuihan do? Hence, he mustered his courage and said, "You are right. I have to take my mother to see a doctor. You have to compensate quickly." Some of the people present did not know the inside story and thought that it was really Li Shuihan who knocked down that old hag, so they all shouted that Li Shuihan would compensate. However, there were also a few people with discerning eyes who saw that it was a blackmailer trick. However, these blackmailer people usually committed crimes in a gang. If they were exposed on the spot, they might get revenge, so they did not make a sound. When the brawny man saw Li Shuihan was so beautiful, he used a voice that only he and Li Ruolin could hear and laughed. "If you don't have money, you can pay for your debts with your flesh." Just as he finished speaking, his vision suddenly blurred and a burning pain immediately appeared on both sides of his face. He opened his mouth and a few teeth mixed with blood were spat out. The surrounding people also only heard a few crisp popping sounds before the brawny man opened his mouth and spat out blood. They had no idea what had happened. Only Zhou Hao, who was in the beverage shop, could see Li Shuihan waving her right hand and giving the brawny man 4 big slaps in a row. It took the brawny man a while to realize that it was Li Shuihan who hit him. He immediately became angry. "You stinky B***TCH. How dare you hit me?" He raised his fist and was about to hit Li Shuihan when he saw Li Shuihan raise her right hand and grab his fist. Then she suddenly twisted, and the surrounding people heard a sound that made people's teeth ache. The muscular man's arm was actually broken by Li Shuihan just like that. It hung there like a fried dough twist. When the old woman saw this scene, she was also completely stunned. She stopped crying and froze there. Even Zhou Hao sucked in a breath of cold air. He thought to himself that Li Shuihan was indeed vicious and merciless. Gao Jingyi saw this miserable scene and her face turned pale. She subconsciously grabbed Zhou Hao's hand. Following the scream of the strong man, another few men walked out from the crowd and surrounded Li Shuihan. Obviously, they were the strong man's accomplices. At this time, the onlookers also saw that the strong man and the old woman were a group. Furthermore, both parties were not good men and women, so they left one after another to avoid getting caught in the crossfire. Li Shuihan coldly snorted when she saw these few accomplices. On the other side, Zhou Hao's expression changed. Not good, because he saw Li Shuihan's hand touching her waist. She was actually going to pull out her gun. This woman is so impulsive. Isn't she afraid of exposing her identity as the First Army? Zhou Hao thought. He knew that the identities of every member of the First Army were confidential. He couldn't let ordinary people know about it. This was to prevent the enemy from discovering him and his organization from being in danger. Zhou Hao said to Gao Jingyi, "Wait here. I will go and help." After he finished speaking, he had already left the drink store. Gao Jingyi wanted to call him, but in the end, she did not say it out loud. Zhou Hao instantly appeared next to Li Shuihan. The people of the blackmailer didn't see how Zhou Hao appeared at all. Li Shuihan looked at Zhou Hao indifferently. "Why are you here too?" "I was shopping with a friend and happened to see you being blackmailer." Zhou Hao shrugged and said. When those people heard the word blackmailed, their expressions changed slightly. One of them said coldly, "Brother, be careful when you speak. We came out because we didn't like this woman's behavior on the street. It wasn't blackmailed." Zhou Hao didn't look at them. Instead, he looked down at Li Shuihan's hand, which was touching his waist, and said softly, "Are you really going to pull out your gun? If it causes a sensation, your identity as the First Army will be exposed. If it causes the First Army to surface, the impact will be huge." Li Shuihan raised her eyebrows when she heard Zhou Hao's words, and then said, "Then you go and help me deal with them." Hey. You really aren't polite when you summon people. Last time, I helped you catch another patriarch. You haven't even thanked me yet." Zhou Hao said with a bitter smile. Li Shuihan snorted. "Just take it that I owe you a favor." Zhou Hao shook his head helplessly and smiled bitterly. Forget it. Anyway, it is not a good thing to meet you every time." Then, he said to the people around him, "Hey, brother, it's not right for my friend to hurt your people, but the cause of this matter is that you want to play the trick of blackmailing. Why don't we just let it go?" When the man saw that Zhou Hao had taken the initiative to show weakness, he immediately said angrily, "If you want to let it go, then forget it. Let me tell you, if you don't compensate this pair of mother and son 20,000 yuan, then don't even think about leaving." Zhou Hao narrowed his eyes. Humph. Don't be so shameless. We still need you to give face? Who do you think you are?" That person laughed loudly. "You might not know who I am, but you should have heard of Wen Xiangdong's name before." Zhou Hao sneered. "Wen Xiangdong? Do you know Master Dong?" The man's expression changed. "Who are you trying to scare? Don't use Master Dong's name to swindle people." Zhou Hao continued to laugh. "If I am lying, you guys are fine. But what if I am not lying? You guys think about the consequences." Hearing this, the faces of these people couldn't help but sink. Just like what Zhou Hao said, it would be fine if he was lying, but if he really knew Wen Xiangdong, then these people would have no chance of surviving. After weighing the pros and cons, the man said to Zhou Hao, "All right, I believe in you this time. Consider yourself lucky. Let's go." Thus, these people left with the old woman and the strong man whose arm had been broken by Li Shuihan. Zhou Hao shook his head and said to himself, "They actually still need to use Wen Xiangdong's name to settle it. Should I also use my name in the underworld?" However, he was just saying it. If he really made a name for himself in the underworld, Zhao Rixin would be the first to not let him go. When Zhou Hao turned around, he found that Li Shuihan had already walked quite a distance away silently. He immediately shouted, "Hey, you received help like this, but you still left quietly." He saw Li Shuihan raise her right hand, and something flew towards Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao reached out and caught it. He found a business card with only a phone number written on it. Li Shuihan also said, "If you need help, call me on the phone." After saying that, Li Shuihan also looked at Gao Jingyi in the beverage store and left. After that, Zhou Hao and Gao Jingyi walked around for another hour, and then returned to Yining Middle School to drive Gao Jingyi back. "Zhou Hao, thank you. I am very happy tonight." In the car, Gao Jingyi said to Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao only smiled. At this time, a melodious music came from outside. It was the very pleasant music in the Japanese anime Sky City. Gao Jingyi also heard it and quickly said to Zhou Hao, quickly stop the car, quickly stop the car." Zhou Hao parked the car by the side of the road. Gao Jingyi pushed the door open and went out. Zhou Hao also got off the car and walked over. It turned out that this was a small square. There was a round marble table in the middle, and there was a small fountain on it. And in the square, there were also a few speakers on the street lamps. The music of Sky City came from the speakers. "I didn't expect there to be a square here." "I don't know either," Zhou Hao said, because it was already late at night. Therefore, besides Zhou Hao and Gao Jingyi, there was no one else in the square. Gao Jingyi obviously liked the music of Sky City. She walked to the marble platform and lifted her skirt slightly to turn it. Although it was not some dance steps, it looked as beautiful as a celestial being dancing. Zhou Hao was also stunned for a moment. After a long time, he walked over. He made a gentleman's bow to Gao Jingyi and extended his right hand to her. "May I?" Gao Jingyi was slightly stunned and smiled. "Of course." Then she placed her hand on Zhou Hao's palm. Under the wonderful music of Sky City, Zhou Hao grabbed Gao Jingyi's hand with one hand and held her waist with the other, dancing together. In fact, neither of them knew how to dance. They just followed the music and moved around. However, no one cared about this. Gao Jingyi felt that she was happier than dancing in the auditorium. Her heart was filled with happiness. In the end, Gao Jingyi leaned her head on Zhou Hao's shoulder. She said faintly, "Zhou Hao, can I borrow something from you?" "What is it?" Gao Jingyi did not say anything. She tiptoed and pressed her lips against Zhou Hao's lips. Lying on the bed alone, Zhou Hao was still reminiscing the kiss he had with Gao Jingyi in the small square. It was sweet, greasy, soft, and felt right into his heart and spleen. And Gao Jingyi's words were still ringing in his ears. "I borrowed a kiss from you. When I come back from America, I will return one to you." Gao Jingyi also promised Zhou Hao to send her to the airport at 10:30 tomorrow morning. Zhou Hao also agreed. Just as Zhou Hao was still thinking about Gao Jingyi, the hand phone on the bed rang at an inappropriate time. It sounded unusually ear-piercing in the dark and quiet room. Zhou Hao looked at the clock on the wall and saw that the needle was showing that it was 3:45 in the morning. Zhou Hao muttered to himself, "Who called so late at night?" "Hello, I'm Zhou Hao." Boss, something happened in the factory," the man said. Dai Zhanwang's anxious voice came from the phone. Zhou Hao's heart shivered, and he immediately sat up from the bed. "What happened?" "Boss, it's you. Your father." In the factory." Dai Zhanwang seemed to be hesitating as he spoke haltingly. "Speak." Dai Zhanwang gritted his teeth and said, "Boss, your father. He stole the orange fruit formula." "What?" Zhou Hao's heart suddenly clenched, and then a burst of anger emerged. He suppressed his anger that was about to explode and asked in a deep voice, "Are you really sure it's him?" "It's him in the surveillance video," Dai Zhanwang said in a low voice. After all, the person who had committed the crime was Zhou Hao's father. "All right, I'll go over immediately." After saying that, Zhou Hao quickly put on his clothes and left for Huayu village. Originally, Zhou Hao had a glimmer of hope in his heart for Zhou Liren. If Zhou Liren could really turn over a new leaf, Zhou Hao might give him a chance to come back. When Zhou Hao stayed in Huayu village, Zhou Liren did indeed perform very well. He went to and fro on time every day, was loyal to his work, and often ran to the Yin family. His relationship with Yin Mudong and the others also eased up a lot. However, he did not expect that such a thing would happen in just a few days after Zhou Hao left Huayu village. The last glimmer of hope in his heart was shattered, and Zhou Hao no longer had the possibility of forgiving Zhou Liren. Furthermore, there was another layer. If Yin Tong knew about this matter, she was afraid that her heart would be broken, and even her mind would collapse, because she had just rekindled her hope for Zhou Liren. Now, Zhou Liren had forcefully extinguished her hope. How could Yin Tong accept this? Therefore, the first reaction Zhou Hao had after learning about this from Dai Zhanwang was to keep this matter a secret, especially not to let the Yin family know about it. 3 hours later, Zhou Hao drove to Huayu village. He didn't let the Yin family know that he had come. Instead, he drove directly into the factory of Heavenly River and went straight to the director's office of Daijianwang. In the office, Zhou Hao saw Li Chufan and Song Buoqian outside of Daijianwang. It was no wonder that Li Chufan and Song Buoqian were in charge of the technical development department, and the fruits were orange. It was originally developed by the two of them, so it was normal for them to know about this matter. Xiao Hao, Li Chufan and Song Buoqian's faces were filled with anger and repression. After all, the result of their hard work had been stolen just like that. However, the man was Zhou Hao's father. Therefore, Li Chufan and Song Buoqian didn't lose their temper. Instead, they held it in. Zhou Hao said to Li Chufan, Song Buoqian, Uncle Li, Uncle Song, I'm really sorry. I didn't expect this to happen either. The one who had committed the crime was his father. As the saying went, the father had to pay the son back. Zhou Hao also had the responsibility to apologize to Li Chufan and the others. Li Chufan raised his hand. Forget it, Xiao Hao. You don't have to blame yourself for this. After all, no one expected this. Zhou Hao nodded and said to Daijianwang, Tell me what happened. Boss, take a look at the surveillance footage first. Daijianwang said. He turned a screen in front of Zhou Hao. Tianhe had electronic eyes installed in both the factory and the office, especially in the research room of the technology development department. This surveillance video was taken from different angles by the electronic eyes around the research room. The image was relatively clear. In the video, there was no one in the research lab. The staff had already gotten off work, and there were 2 security guards guarding the door. When the time indicated on the top right corner was 3:15 in the morning, a figure appeared at the staircase. It was Zhou Liren. He walked straight to the research lab and greeted the 2 security guards with a smile. However, when he walked to the 2 security guards, he suddenly took out a bottle of pesticide spray and sprayed it on the faces of the 2 security guards. After the 2 security guards were sprayed, they fell to the ground and fainted within a few seconds. Zhou Liren took out the lab key from them and entered the lab unimpeded. In order to not let the technical staff in the research room feel that they were being watched, Heavenly River did not install any electronic eyes in the research room. Therefore, whatever Zhou Liren did in the research room was not shown in the surveillance video. When he came out, he had a briefcase in his hand. He swaggered out of the room and disappeared into the surveillance video. Looking at his back, Zhou Hao was expressionless, but his eyes were obviously filled with anger that he had tried his best to suppress. Li Chufan said, The briefcase he took away contained the recipe for orange fruit and our research data. He turned around and asked Daijianwang, Are those 2 security guards all right? When Daijianwang heard Zhou Hao's words, he was very touched. Zhou Hao did not ask about the loss immediately, but first cared about the safety of the employees. He said, They are fine. The components of the spray should be sleeping pills. Zhou Hao nodded, then asked Li Chufan, Uncle Li, did we only have orange fruit stolen this time? Li Chufan said, Yes. Fortunately, the recipes for the iced red tea and green tea are in another place. Otherwise, we would have suffered a great loss. This time, we were only robbed of the orange fruit, formula, and some relevant data. Song Buoqian also said, However, according to the current hot sales of our orange fruit, if Zhou Liren sold the formula and experimental data to Coca-Cola Company or other beverage companies, it would be a huge blow to us. Coca-Cola wanted to buy Sky River because of the orange and orange fruits. If they got the formula and developed a drink similar to the orange and orange fruits, they would immediately take over the market that Sky River had worked so hard to run. After all, in terms of reputation and management, Sky River was still in the early stages of development. He was much weaker than Coca-Cola. Although we have already applied for patents for the orange fruit formula in both China and the international community. However, if there really is a company that has obtained the formula and developed the product, even if we sue them, it will be very difficult for them to win, because it is very difficult to obtain evidence. The patent competition has always been protracted. Tianhe is currently in the midst of rapid development and has no time to bother with such troublesome matters. Zhou Hao thought for a moment and said to Daijianwang and the others, It doesn't matter even if the other companies get the formula. Anyway, we have already made a name for ourselves. Fruit and orange are our best products and its mission has been completed. We, Tianhe, can't rely on a product to eat until we get old. Uncle Li, Uncle Song, you should hurry up and develop our iced tea series and develop the tea beverages as soon as possible. This is the trump card of our Tianhe. Also, Director Dai, ask the advertising department to produce an advertisement for me. The theme is to encourage consumers to support nationality enterprises and support national goods. In 2 years, it will be the 50th anniversary of our country's establishment. You can let the advertising department use this as an excuse. Zhou Hao said. He did this to prevent Coca-Cola Company from getting the formula of orange fruit. If Sky River and Coca-Cola both produced fruit beverages, Zhou Hao could use his sense of honor to make the consumers lean towards Sky River and minimize the impact of Coca-Cola. However, he did not know which company Zhou Liren was going to sell the formula to. In other words, who was the one who asked Zhou Liren to steal the formula of the orange and orange fruits? Zero. However, Zhou Hao believed that the answer would be revealed soon, because the orange and orange fruits produced by the Sky River had gained a firm foothold in the domestic beverage market. No matter what the company wanted to compete with the Sky River, they had to take action as soon as possible. At that time, Zhou Hao would know who it was. He clenched his fists and sneered in his heart. I want to see who it is. No matter who it is, I want it. I regret it for this matter. Zhou Hao hated the person behind the scene to the bone. If they only wanted to compete with the Heavenly River, it would be fine. But this time, they made Zhou Liren betray Zhou Hao and Yin Tong once again, and it would hurt Yin Tong deeply. This was the most unforgivable thing that Zhou Hao could not forgive. He had decided that no matter who the opponent was, he would beat them down and make them suffer a crushing defeat. At the same time, he said to Daijan Wang, other than those who already know about this, you can't let anyone else know about this, especially my uncle and the others. Anyone who dares to leak this information will be fired immediately and never hired again. Before this incident, Zhou Liren often ran to the Yin family. Now that he had suddenly disappeared, Yin Mudong and the others would definitely suspect him. Furthermore, Yin Tong and Zhou Liren were husband and wife. If they suddenly lost contact with each other, Yin Tong would quickly find out. Therefore, in order to keep this matter a secret, Zhou Hao simply told Yin Tong and the others that he gave Zhou Liren 5 million and sent him to the northeast to do business. He hoped that Zhou Liren could have some achievements. Yin Tong was really surprised when she heard this. She thought that Zhou Hao had already forgiven Zhou Liren. Yin Tong thought that although Zhou Liren was older than the best period to start a business, with Zhou Hao's financial help, as long as he was willing to do it, he would definitely have some achievements. Wasn't she and Lu Shiping also an ordinary woman in the past? With Zhou Hao's help, didn't they also become the most famous female entrepreneur in Xiang City? Zhou Hao also told her that Zhou Liren would not be back for 2 years after he left. He also told Yin Tong not to contact him to avoid distracting him. Yin Tong thought that Zhou Liren would really do as Zhou Hao said and start a business. So even though she was worried about him, she endured it and promised Zhou Hao that she would not contact Zhou Liren for 2 years. At the same time, Zhou Hao also used an excuse to change the numbers of his family and Yin Tong's phone numbers. He wanted to prevent Zhou Liren from calling back, and his lie would be exposed immediately. Zhou Hao himself was not feeling good lying to Yin Tong and the Yin family. He lied to Yin Tong like this. Although it was out of goodwill, it was also equivalent to giving Yin Tong a false hope. Once this lie was destroyed, Yin Tong would suffer even greater harm. After arranging the work for Daijan Wang and the others, Zhou Hao contacted Li Shuihan. Li Shuihan, where are you now? Zhou Hao's voice was terrifyingly deep, which surprised Li Shuihan, who had always been cold. In Xiang City. What happened? All right, I will go there immediately. After putting down the phone, Zhou Hao immediately rushed back to Xiang City. According to Li Shuihan, he found her in an ordinary house in Xiang City. When Zhou Hao found Li Shuihan, he saw 2 other people there. One of them was Big Boss of First Army, Mr. Han Mei. The other person was a man in his 50s or 60s. The most prominent feature of his appearance was that his eyebrows were very long, hanging down like willow branches. He looked a little funny. Zhou Hao had never seen this man before. He guessed that this man should also be from the First Army, so he nodded slightly as a greeting. Zhou Hao, why did you come to our Shuihan so leisurely? Don't tell me you want to pursue her? Big Boss said with a smile when he saw Zhou Hao. Li Shuihan frowned. She looked at Zhou Hao and said matter-of-factly, I don't like men like him. I don't have time to argue with you. Zhou Hao just replied Li Shuihan faintly. Big Boss and Li Shuihan also noticed that Zhou Hao's face was expressionless. He did not have the kind of sunshine and humor that they had when they first met. Big Boss said seriously, Zhou Hao, is there something you need our help with? Just say it. We were able to capture 2 patriarchs alive because of your help. Our First Army still owes you a favor. Zhou Hao took out half a yellowed photo and placed it on the table between Big Boss and Li Shuihan. In the photo, there was a very bright smiling man. He was very young. However, his clothes were almost the same as 20 years ago. This man was the young Zhou Liren. However, this half of the photo was obviously torn off, and Zhou Liren still had a woman's hand at his waist, which meant that Zhou Liren was hugging a woman at that time. And that woman should be Zhou Hao's mother, Yin Tong. Zhou Hao pointed at the 20-year-old Zhou Liren in the picture and said to Li Shuihan and Big Boss, I want to ask you to help me find this man. I don't know if he has left Guangdong yet, but please find him and give him to me. Big Boss looked at Zhou Liren in the picture. Zhou Hao knew what Big Boss wanted to say without him saying it out loud. He said coldly, if he's alive, I want to see him. If he's dead, I want to see his corpse. Big Boss picked up the photo and put it into his bag. He said to Zhou Hao, if you are alive, you must see a person. If you are dead, you must see a corpse. I understand. After we find this man, we will inform you immediately. Thank you. Zhou Hao nodded. He knew that the First Army was not only the most mysterious and powerful force in China, but also one of the 4 major intelligence agencies in the world. That was why the network of the First Army was very large, and their ability to collect information was also very powerful. That was why Zhou Hao wanted to ask them for help to find Zhou Liren. At this moment, Li Shuihan suddenly said, Oh right, where is the girl who was with you last time? The girl she was talking about should be Gao Jingyi. Hearing this, Zhou Hao was stunned. It was not because he was curious why Li Shuihan would ask about Gao Jingyi, but because he suddenly remembered his promise with Gao Jingyi. He still had to send Gao Jingyi off today. Because of the sudden incident with Zhou Liren, Zhou Hao's attention was completely drawn to it. In order to deal with the aftermath of Heavenly River, and to ask the First Army to help him find Zhou Liren, Zhou Hao had been busy for a long time, but he had actually forgotten about Gao Jingyi. He looked at the bright sky outside the window, and then looked at the clock on the wall. Zhou Hao was surprised to find that it was already 10 o'clock in the morning. Gao Jingyi's flight to America was about to take off at 10:30. Gao Jingyi took a plane to the United States at the Guangzhou's Baiyun Airport, and the Xiang City to the Guangzhou's Baiyun Airport usually took 40 minutes. Zhou Hao immediately said to Big Boss and the others, I have something else to do, so I will leave first. I will leave that matter to you guys. Big Boss nodded. Since you have something to do, then we will meet again. We will meet again in the future. Therefore, Zhou Hao left the house and drove to Guangzhou. Once they left the crowded road in Xiang City, Zhou Hao stepped on the accelerator to increase the speed of the Mercedes-Benz to 200 kilometers per hour. He did not care about the speed limit card on the road. At this speed, they should be able to reach Baiyun Airport in 30 minutes. However, after 15 minutes, on the road 50 kilometers away from Guangzhou, there happened to be a traffic accident. This traffic accident wasn't considered serious. It was a light collision between a bus and a small truck. No one died, and the driver and passengers only suffered minor injuries. However, this traffic accident blocked the national road, forming a 100 long train of cars. Looking at the crowded car dragon in front of him, Zhou Hao could not help but curse. He did not have that much time to wait for the national road to open up again. He looked at the electronic watch on the car. There were less than 15 minutes left until 10:30. If he delayed any longer, Zhou Hao wouldn't be able to send Gao Jingyi off. He gritted his teeth and muttered to himself, this is the only way. Then, he turned the car around and parked it by the side of the national road. He pushed the door open and got out of the car. Then, he jumped off the national road and walked into the lychee forest. Baiyun Airport's terminal. Gao Jingyi was sitting in the seat. Next to her was Gao Holu and Gao Jingyi's mother, Yao Yuning. In front of her were 2 luggage bags. Gao Jingyi could be seen sitting there with an anxious expression on her face. She kept looking towards the airport entrance. Yao Yuning asked in puzzlement, Jingyi, who are you waiting for? Is there a friend who came to see you? Gao Jingyi gently nodded her head. Gao Holu knew that his daughter was waiting for Zhou Hao. In fact, last night Gao Jingyi said that she wanted to go out for a stroll and take a good look at the Xiang City. Gao Holu knew that she wanted to go out with Zhou Hao. His wife was originally worried that Gao Jingyi going out alone would not be safe. Gao Holu also told his wife to be at ease, because with Zhou Hao around, Gao Jingyi would be fine. Although Yao Yuning and Gao Jingyi's relationship was very close, because Gao Jingyi hid it too closely, Yao Yuning also did not know that her daughter already had someone in her heart. As for Gao Holu, he had been in the government for many years. His observation skills had long been perfected, so he could see through Gao Jingyi's thoughts. Attention passengers on flight AF 5934. The flight is about to take off. Please board the plane in time. At this time, a pleasant notification sound came from the airport broadcast. Yao Yuning said to Gao Jingyi, Jingyi, it's about time. Get on the plane. I think your friend won't be able to make it in time. Gao Jingyi's expression became even more anxious. Her gaze was still fixed on the entrance of the airport. Gao Holu knew what his daughter was thinking, so he said to his wife, let's wait a little longer. My daughter has been gone for a few years. Let her see her friend again. But the plane doesn't wait for people, Yao Yuning said. Gao Holu was also very helpless. Indeed, the plane did not wait for people. They could not delay the entire flight just to wait for Gao Jingyi. Therefore, he could not help but complain in his heart about why Zhou Hao did not come so late. Yao Yuning and pulled Gao Jingyi towards the boarding gate. Gao Jingyi even turned her head as she walked. She pursed her lips tightly and her eyes were very blank. At the same time, a figure suddenly appeared at the entrance of the airport. There seemed to be a whirlwind behind, blowing the papers at the airport counter into the air. Gao Jingyi cried out in shock and suddenly broke free of Yao Yuning's hand and ran towards that figure. That figure was also quickly walking over. This figure was naturally Zhou Hao. He used his physical speed, which was faster than bullets, to run all the way from over 50 kilometers away. He actually managed to get there within 10 minutes. Gao Jingyi ran straight towards Zhou Hao. She ignored the fact that her parents were still looking at her and threw herself into Zhou Hao's arms. The surrounding passengers smiled kindly at the two of them because they could see that they were a couple who didn't want to part with each other. And at the airport, this kind of situation often happened. Gao Jingyi tightly hugged him and muttered with a crying voice, "I even thought that you wouldn't come." Zhou Hao also hugged her tightly and said, "I'm sorry, because I met with something, and just now I met with a car accident." A car accident? Gao Jingyi was suddenly shocked and quickly looked at Zhou Hao nervously. "Are you all right?" "I didn't get into a car accident. Someone else got into a car accident and blocked the road. It took me a lot of effort to get here." Zhou Hao smiled at her. Then he saw Gao Holu and a woman in her 30s and 40s. They must be Gao Jingyi's mother. He said gently to Gao Jingyi, "You will be on the plane soon, right?" "Fortunately, I came in time." "Attention, passengers on the flight to New York, United States. The flight is about to take off. Please board the plane immediately." At this time, the voice of the female voice came again from the airport speaker. Zhou Hao patted Gao Jingyi on the back. "Jingyi, you are boarding the plane." "Zhou Hao, I can't bear to see you." Gao Jingyi finally shed tears as she looked at Zhou Hao. "I can't bear to part with you either." Zhou Hao felt sorry for Gao Jingyi when he saw her tears. He used his thumb to gently wipe away the tears on her face and gently said, "But it's not like you won't come back. We will still meet again. I'm afraid that when the time comes, you will become even more beautiful, and you won't be interested in me, this brat. You don't stink at all." Gao Jingyi broke her tears into a smile, and then said seriously, "Zhou Hao, you have to wait for me to come back, okay?" Zhou Hao nodded. "Okay, I promise you." After staring at Zhou Hao for a long time, Gao Jingyi turned around and walked towards the boarding gate. However, she looked back almost step by step, and every time she looked back, it made Zhou Hao's heart break. Zhou Hao really wanted to stop her and ask her not to go to America. He believed that if he did this, Gao Jingyi would definitely stay. But in the end, he still endured it. Because this concerned Gao Jingyi's future, Zhou Hao felt that he could not be so selfish. Finally, Gao Jingyi returned to Gao Holu and Yao Yuning's side and said to them, "Dad, Mom, I'm leaving." After saying that, she pulled the two luggage bags and walked towards the boarding gate. Yao Yuning had just seen Gao Jingyi and Zhou Hao tightly hugging each other. She was simply shocked. She never would have thought that her daughter, who had never been shy with boys, would also be like this. When she saw Gao Jingyi turn around and was about to leave, she wanted to ask. But when her lips moved slightly, she felt her husband pull her by the side. She turned to look at Gao Holu and saw him shaking his head slightly at her. Then, he looked at Gao Jingyi's back as she slowly walked away. Yao Yuning did not ask Gao Jingyi about it in the end. She just quietly watched her daughter leave. When Gao Jingyi's back finally disappeared in the corridor at the boarding gate, Yao Yuning turned back to look at Zhou Hao. She saw Zhou Hao bowing to her and Gao Holu from afar as a greeting. Then, he turned around and left as well. After all, he was so intimate with their daughter in public. Zhou Hao didn't know how to face Gao Holu and his wife, so he could only use the escape technique. "Old Gao, this is?" Yao Yuning asked Gao Holu. Gao Holu shook his head and smiled bitterly. "Sigh, my daughter has grown up after all. She also knows how to date." "You know that boy too?" Yao Yuning saw that her husband seemed to know about this matter and was somewhat dissatisfied with him hiding it from her. "That boy is the Zhou Hao who saved Jingyi previously," Gao Holu said. Yao Yuning was also surprised. "He is Zhou Hao? Then the Zhou Hao you told me about before, who earned hundreds of millions from the Japanese, is also him?" "That's right. This kid is not simple." The corner of Gao Holu's mouth curled up slightly. "If it was him, I wouldn't object. It's just that he and Jingyi are still young. Although this kid is even more cunning than the adults, how could our Jingyi be so easily picked up by him? Fortunately, Jingyi will need at least 3 to 4 years to return from studying abroad. It just so happens that the two of them can think about whether or not they really like each other. After Gao Jingyi left, the students of grade 15 and class 5 continued to live their school life as usual. It was not like there was no one in this world that could not change. However, since Gao Jingyi was the class monitor, Li Rulin chose another girl to be the class monitor after she left. The boys who admired Gao Jingyi felt a sense of loss. Even Situ Jianying, who did not get along well with Gao Jingyi, felt that something was missing when she no longer had any opponents to bicker with. As for Gao Jingyi's best friend, Luo Hui, she secretly cried a few times. Lu Shichao comforted her and made great progress in their relationship. Although Gao Jingyi went to America, it did not mean that she had lost contact with Zhou Hao. After arriving in America, Gao Jingyi immediately called Zhou Hao. Now that she lived in a cousin's house, Gao Holu had already helped her register for the prep school, so she did not need to worry too much. When he was talking to Zhou Hao on the phone, Gao Jingyi's words were filled with love and affection for Zhou Hao, which made Zhou Hao very upset. He really wanted to fly to New York and meet her. On the other hand, the North Pole Star had made great progress in ordering the broadcast satellite from Hughes Company. Hughes had agreed to provide the latest broadcast satellite for the North Pole Star, asking for $200 million. However, after Wang Zhongjuan, Wang Zhonglei, and Hughes discussed for a while, the final price of this television broadcast satellite was set at $1.5 billion, which was around 1.2 billion renminbi. Hughes was not in charge of the launch of this satellite. In other words, they needed to find another satellite launch company to send this television broadcast satellite to the satellite orbit. However, Hughes Company said that they could help Polaris introduce the company. After all, they had been in the satellite business for so many years, and they had a very wide network in this area. However, when Zhao Rixin found out that Zhou Hao had bought the satellite from Hughes Corporation, he reprimanded him and asked him why he did not directly buy it from China, and why he did not support domestic goods. Of course, Zhou Hao did not dare to talk back to old Master Zhao, so he could only accept the responsibility obediently. In fact, he also wanted to buy the satellite developed in China, but the technology level of the satellite in China was indeed a distance away from Hughes Company. Even Wang Zhongjuan and Wang Zhonglei, who helped Zhou Hao manage the North Pole Star, also agreed to buy Hughes Corporation's broadcast satellite. When old Master Zhao saw that Zhou Hao had already bought Hughes Corporation's satellite, he decisively decided to leave the launch of the satellite to the country. He did not allow Zhou Hao to object. However, Zhou Hao originally wanted the country to help him launch the satellite. Although the domestic satellite technology was not as good as overseas, the technology to launch the satellite was leading the world. Moreover, the price was much cheaper than the companies that Hughes had introduced. It was probably tens of millions of RMB, because one broadcast satellite could set up dozens of satellite channels. Furthermore, with the rapid development of the domestic television industry, many local television stations would adopt the plan of going to the stars. They would make the television stations into satellite television and cover a wider area. Zhou Hao's satellite could also rent other channels to these television stations, other than fulfilling his needs to set up the satellite television stations. It was estimated that the yearly rent would bring Zhou Hao tens of millions of income. Moreover, Zhou Hao's North Pole Star was equivalent to pinching the throats of these television stations. In the process of working with them, he would also obtain countless benefits. After having the television broadcast satellite, North Pole Star officially began to set up the Galaxy television station that Zhou Hao had previously planned. According to Zhou Hao's original plan, the North Pole Star planned to set up the Galaxy television station at its headquarters, which was the Hongdian in Zhujiang. Because Zhou Hao had 40% of the shares in the Hongdian film and television city, it was very convenient for Galaxy Television to film a television series in Hongdian. Before he bought the satellite, the North Pole Star had already been building the office building and the TV tower of Galaxy Television. The office building of Galaxy Television was actually the headquarters of the North Pole Star. It was a 26-story building. Zhou Hao had already decided to set up the Galaxy Television when he created the North Pole Star. The setting up of the TV station was very complicated, and there were many procedures that needed to be approved. This was because the domestic management of the media was very strict, especially the private TV stations. If Phoenix Satellite TV previously had a strong political influence, it would not have been able to broadcast it in the country. The power of Zhao family was much stronger than the backing of Phoenix Television. It eliminated many obstacles for Zhou Hao's Galaxy Television, allowing it to be successfully established. Zhao Rixin knew that Galaxy Television and Asia Television Limited were both under the banner of North Pole Star, so he told Zhou Hao not to be like those media outlets in Hong Kong who did not hide anything. Otherwise, when it involved a huge problem that endangered public safety, Even the Zhao family would not be able to protect Galaxy Television. Zhou Hao immediately said that he knew. He naturally knew that the public opinion in the country was different from Hong Kong. The scale was not as wide as Hong Kong. Many things that could be broadcasted in Hong Kong could not be broadcasted in the country. This scale must be controlled well. Zhou Hao also specifically told Wang Zhongjuan and Wang Zhonglei about it. However, with their abilities, Zhou Hao still trusted them very much. It was a very complicated and huge project to build a satellite television station. However, Wang Zhongjuan, Wang Zhonglei, was a rare talent in this field. He also had a wide network of people in the film industry. With Zhou Hao's huge financial support, the establishment of Galaxy Satellite TV station was quite smooth. At the same time, Wang Zhongjuan and the others followed Zhou Hao's instructions. With the help of Han Shixiang, the general manager of Hongdian Film and Television City, they found more than 10 talented and experienced producers, including directors, photographers, hairdresser, and makeup artists. Then, they recruited many young talent producers from the Beijing Film Academy and the Folk Network. They built the talent resources for the production of Galaxy Television with the help of old people and young people. Of course, Asia Television Limited was a large television station with several decades of history and experience. And now, it was also a television station under the banner of the North Pole Star Media Group, just like Galaxy Television. Therefore, it had provided a lot of help to the establishment of Galaxy Media. For example, they had transferred some film production talents over. As for the actors and hosts, Zhou Hao also gave Wang Zhongjuan and the others a list of names. They were all the people who would become famous in the future and had yet to reach the peak of their careers, including Wang Han, Dong Qing, Sun Honglei, Wang Shuyu, and so on. They even poached Chen Luyu, who was still the morning news anchor of Phoenix TV. As Chen Luyu's brand program, Luyu's Promise, would only be released in 1998, Chen Luyu's greatest value had yet to be revealed. Thus, after many negotiations between North Pole Star and Phoenix TV finally transferred Chen Luyu to Galaxy Television at a price of 3 million RMB. However, Zhou Hao also knew that everyone's success had its own fate. If it was in another environment, they might not have the same success as they originally did, but they might just be ordinary people. Therefore, Zhou Hao changed the fate of those actors and hosts who had yet to become famous on Galaxy Television. They might not have the same kind of success as before. Therefore, Zhou Hao had also instructed Wang Zhongjuan, Wang Zhonglei, not to support them from the beginning, but to give them the opportunity to train because they were useless. Zhou Hao believed that if it was gold, it would shine wherever it was. As long as they were given a chance, they would definitely succeed. Zhou Hao did not place all his hopes on them. He asked Wang Zhonglei to find young artists with potential and provide new blood to Galaxy Television. Since Galaxy Satellite TV's plan was carried out at the same time as North Pole Star, the framework of Galaxy Satellite TV had already been built after North Pole Star bought the broadcast satellite. Wang Zhongjuan was also preparing for the shooting of the first TV series of the Galaxy Satellite TV series. This TV series was Kangxi Dynasty, which was very popular in Zhou Hao's previous life and had a very good reputation. In Zhou Hao's previous life, his favorite TV series in the country was Kangxi Dynasty, especially the one that Han Lei sang, borrowing from the heavens for 500 years. At that time, Zhou Hao's blood was boiling when he heard it. Furthermore, Wang Zhonglei had also invited the male lead, Chen Daoming, to play this epic TV series. According to the history of Zhou Hao's previous life, Kangxi Dynasty had been filmed in 2,000 years. Due to the length of the television series, it was not as short as the condition for the witch that Zhou Hao had specially written for Li Ruolin. Zhou Hao himself was unable to complete the script. Therefore, he had to explain the plot himself and let the professional screenwriter of North Pole Star write the script. However, the screenwriter of Kangxi Dynasty still wrote the pen name of Zijun. Compared to 3 years later, Chen Daoming's acting skills were also very good. Zhou Hao believed that he could control Kangxi's role well. Apart from Kangxi Dynasty, the classic TV series produced by Asia Television Limited, such as I Have a Date with Zombies and Traversing 4 Seas, would be broadcasted by Galaxy Television to increase the resources of Galaxy Television. While preparing Kangxi Dynasty, Galaxy Satellite TV also established a perfect and excellent news production team. Regarding the news and public opinion, the domestic management of private television stations was much stricter than government television stations. However, Zhou Hao did not have the intention of opposing the government, so in terms of the news, he still followed Zhao Rixin's suggestion and basically followed the domestic system. After all, public opinion in the country was not as free as in Hong Kong. Compared to the news, Zhou Hao paid more attention to the cultural programs and interview programs of Galaxy Satellite TV. After Chen Luyu was poached, Galaxy Satellite TV started to prepare for Lu Yu's appointment. In addition, Zhou Hao was also planning a series of programs that were popular in his previous life. That was Lecture Room. Lecture Room was originally a program broadcasted by the Central TV station in 2001. The selection of materials was very extensive, and it involved China's traditional culture, literature, biology, medicine, and economy. In the beginning, Central TV's Lecture Room did not perform well. Its viewership ratings were even on the verge of being eliminated. Later, it was only after the editors gradually developed a mature operating system that it was revived. At that time, Zhou Hao also liked to watch Lecture Room, especially the series Yi Zhong Heaven Three Kingdoms. He had also seen the reviewers' analysis of Lecture Room, so he did not need to slowly explore it like Central TV anymore. He could directly bring out a mature operating model. 4. The key reason why Lecture Room was able to bring the dead back to life was that it used narration techniques to create suspense. Through setting up and using suspense to lead the main content and direction, it attracted the audience to the greatest extent. In addition to the storytelling, the other key was that the image would be presented, and through pictures, subtitles, and video information, various kinds of knowledge would be directly transmitted to the audience. The last part was a celebrity narration. Specifically, it was a type of star creation movement. With the content to be talked about, one needed an expression with a number. The director of Lecture Room set 3 standards for the host selection, which were academic standards, ability to express, and personal charm. After a series of filtering, the host would be packaged and recommended according to the star system. From there, the celebrity effect and the public's perception of the program would be used to establish an ascendance mentality and perception of the program. Among them, the most typical example of successfully becoming a star because of Lecture Room was Yi Zhongtian. As an interviewing brand program, Lu Yu's Promise, most of the interviewing people were celebrities. This required the Galaxy Satellite TV network to have strong connections to be able to invite those famous people. Famous people were not easy to accept invitations. Apart from Wang Zhongjuan and Wang Zhonglei's talent, the key was to see if the Galaxy Satellite TV network could have a stable viewership guarantee. Only when the reputation of the Galaxy's TV network was fully spread could those famous people be attracted. Therefore, the program Lu Yu Promise didn't need to be broadcasted in a hurry. It needed to wait for the Galaxy Satellite TV network to become famous before it could be broadcasted. Unlike the celebrities that Lu Yu wanted to invite, the celebrities that Lu Yu wanted to invite held the initiative and had the right to decide whether they wanted to accept the invitation or not. In other words, they were the host and Lu Yu had to accept the invitation. However, Lecture Room was different. Most of the lecturers were chosen from the professors or lecturers of the various universities. As the saying goes, businessmen are good at earning money and scholars are good names. If there was a chance to become famous, those professors and lecturers would have a much higher status in the academic world. No one would refuse such an opportunity. Therefore, it was much easier to invite them to be the hosts of Lecture Room. Here, Lecture Room. With the initiative, he had the right to choose whether or not to let them be the host. In other words, Lecture Room was the host and those scholars were the followers. And the function of Lecture Room was not only to win the reputation of Galaxy Satellite TV Network, but also to gain the reputation of Galaxy Satellite TV Network and establish an outstanding corporate image. Overall, the main task of Galaxy Television now was to build the operating framework as soon as possible and enrich the talent. After that, it would be to produce the 2 programs of Kangxi Dynasty and Lecture Room. As long as the viewership ratings were raised, the advertising companies would come looking for them themselves, just like the current Asia Television Limited. After the great victory in the copyright lawsuit against the Wireless Television Limited and the success of Millionaire, many large companies in Hong Kong had placed advertising orders to the Asia Television Limited. Within a month, they had brought over 70 million Hong Kong dollars advertising revenue to the Asia Television Limited. Zhou Hao was not a professional in the television or film industry, but he had a huge amount of funds and had many experiences from his previous life. He only needed to formulate a strategy for the general direction. As for the specifics, Wang Zhongjuan, Wang Zhonglei, and many other professionals would complete it for him. After Zhou Hao had proposed to Wang Zhongjuan, Wang Zhonglei, to produce Kangxi Dynasty and Lecture Room, his arrogant and unruly mind had been completely subdued. They, who had never met Zhou Hao before, now knew. When Zhou Hao was only a 17-year-old high school student, he sighed from the bottom of his heart. So there really are geniuses in this world. Although Zhou Hao had a huge amount of funds and powerful political resources, it was because of these geniuses that Wang Zhongjuan, Wang Zhonglei, was completely subdued. Time flew by. While Galaxy Satellite TV was busy preparing, it was mid-November. It was also the time when South Korea faced the financial storm of Asia and the Korean won depreciated greatly. This time, Zhou Hao did not go to Hong Kong to personally oversee the Galaxy Investment Company. Instead, he came to the place where Zhao Yuqin had opened up in Xiang City. Now, it had become the Galaxy Securities Limited of the Xiang City branch of the Galaxy Investment Company. For the past 2 days, Zhou Hao did not go to school. Instead, he stayed in the Galaxy Securities and listened to the message sent by Song Jiahao. A few months ago, he had already formulated a comprehensive plan to deal with the Korean and Japanese stock exchange. So this time, Zhou Hao was just watching from the sidelines and leaving it entirely to the financial group under his command. Jin Xiaoqiang, who helped Zhao Yuqin manage the Galaxy Securities, had already gone to Zhao Yuqin's side to be her assistant a few days ago and helped her manage Zhou Hao's Heavenly River Drink Group. And now, the Galaxy Securities hired some professional securities personnel to manage it. Currently, other than the Xiang City branch that contacted Hong Kong's Galaxy Investment Company, the Galaxy Securities also invested in the domestic stock market according to Zhou Hao's plan. Compared to the stock markets of other developed countries, the domestic stock market could not bring much profit to Zhou Hao. Even the Hong Kong stock market that had returned was much deeper than the domestic stock market. The total stock exchange between Shanghai and Shenzhen could not compare to Hong Kong. Even so, no matter how small the mosquito was, it was still meat. Zhou Hao still made an investment plan based on his analysis of the domestic stock market in his previous life. He wanted the Galaxy Securities to invest in the domestic stocks that had potential. Compared to the tens of billions of USD Zhou Hao earned in Hong Kong and Southeast Asia, Galaxy Securities only made less than 1 billion RMB in the domestic stock market this year. However, the money earned by the Galaxy Securities was nothing compared to the money earned by the Galaxy Investment, but it was already considered the best among the many securities companies in the country. Its reputation was very big in the stock exchange in Shanghai and Shenzhen, and it attracted many customers to invest in it. However, Zhou Hao was worried that the Galaxy Securities would attract many individual investors. If the funds were combined, it would have a big impact on the stock market, which would change the stock prices in Zhou Hao's memory. It would not be worth it. Therefore, the Galaxy Securities was not open to every single shareholder. They were selectively helping some government officials invest in the shares. This way, they could win over the government officials and establish an interpersonal network. Of course, the Galaxy Securities took commission from these officials according to the market management. They did not deliberately lower the price to bribe them, and those officials only earned money through trading stocks. There was no violation of the law. Therefore, Zhou Hao was not afraid that someone would catch on to him. At this time, Zhou Hao was sitting in the general manager's office of Galaxy Securities. In this office, there were a few screens on the wall opposite of Zhou Hao, showing the stock market trends of Hong Kong, Korea, Thailand, Singapore, and Japan. The phone on Zhou Hao's desk was also on the phone with Song Jiahao in Hong Kong. Zhou Hao also pulled Yin Qingqing over from Yin Tong's Tongguang Food Company to act as his secretary. Boss, the stock market in South Korea has not fallen too much, and there are no fluctuations in the stock market. Song Jiahao's voice came from the phone. In fact, Song Jiahao was also quite nervous. This time, not only did Galaxy Investment invest more than 10 billion Hong Kong dollars in their plans for Japan and South Korea, even he and many of the employees in the company invested their money. Zhou Hao's success in the Southeast Asian stock market had filled them with confidence. However, the collapse of the currency in South Korea had not occurred yet, so they were anxious. After all, that was their own money. Zhou Hao touched his chin and said confidently, "Give me some patience. Aren't you all elites in controlling the market? You don't even have this much patience. How did you manage to successfully control the stock in the past?" "Boss, your family business is so big." "Of course you say so. We are different. We are all from small businesses. We can't afford to lose." Zhou Hao could imagine Song Jiahao's bitter expression when he heard Song Jiahao's voice. This is still called a small business. The lowest salary of the operators in the company is 1 million USD per year. In America, they are wealthy. To think you still dare to complain about being poor in front of me. Zhou Hao scolded with a smile. Indeed, Zhou Hao was very generous to his operating group. The minimum salary and dividends were 1 million USD a year. Song Jiahao and Willie Worth, the two top operators, had a few million USD a year. Song Jiahao, on the other hand, was cursing in his heart. Compared to Zhou Hao's hundreds of billions of dollars worth of assets, their net worth was certainly a drop in the ocean. While Zhou Hao was talking to Song Jiahao, Yin Qingqing was also recording the various data on the screen for Zhou Hao. After listening to Zhou Hao and the others, she could not help but ask curiously, "Zhou Hao, don't we need to increase the stock price to make money? Why do you want the stock market to drop?" Although Yin Qingqing had learned a lot from Yin Tong and Lu Shiping, including the knowledge of financial management. However, because the Tongguang Food Company did not involve financial investment and did not plan to raise funds on the market, even though Lu Shiping was good at managing finances, she did not understand about financial matters. Therefore, Yin Qingqing had not learned and had not come into contact with stocks. She looked at Yin Qingqing, who was wearing a professional suit, sitting next to her. Her beautiful appearance was very charming, and there was a delicate fragrance coming from her. Zhou Hao couldn't help but think of the time when he was in the office of the Galaxy Investment in Hong Kong and Su Lin, who was his secretary at that time. It was very exciting. Compared to Su Lin, Yin Qingqing was another kind of beauty, so Zhou Hao felt a slight desire in his heart. He accidentally pressed the hang-up button, and Song Jiahao on the other side of the line found that the phone was suddenly hung up. At first, he thought that the signal had malfunctioned, and was about to call Zhou Hao back, but when he thought about the pleasant female voice from Zhou Hao, Song Jiahao stopped. He guessed that Zhou Hao probably did not want him to hear something he should not have heard, so he hung up the phone. He was also a clever person, so he naturally wouldn't interrupt. The boss's good news. Thinking back to the clear and melodious female voice just now, it probably wasn't ordinary flowers or grass. Song Jiahao couldn't help but envy Zhou Hao's luck with women. Just like Su Lin, who had many single male employees admiring in the company, Song Jiahao knew that she had an affair with Zhou Hao. At this moment, he was even thinking about whether he should tell Su Lin about this matter. However, he was just thinking about it. If Zhou Hao blamed him, he would not be able to bear it. On the other side, Zhou Hao also said to Yin Qingqing, who was beside him, "Cousin Qingqing, in front of my subordinates, don't call me Xiao Hao. This will damage my dignity." Yin Qingqing said. She then pointed at Zhou Hao's nose and smiled. "You are so young. What is there to say about dignity? You are ambitious, but you are not old." Zhou Hao said discontentedly. "No matter how young I am still their boss. If you call me Xiao Hao, how can I raise my head in front of them in the future?" "Oh, I got it. Then what should I call you in front of them in the future? Call you boss too?" Yin Qingqing tilted her head and asked. Zhou Hao smiled. "Just call me CEO Zhou. Hee. After all, you are my secretary now." After a pause, he moved closer to Yin Qingqing. "Cousin Qingqing, everyone says that the secretary is the leader's considerate little jacket. Do you also want to be my little jacket?" Following his words, his hand also touched Yin Qingqing's snow-white thigh that was exposed on the outside of the dress. He slowly extended it towards the inside and felt the warm heat from Yin Qingqing's skirt. Yin Qingqing shivered and immediately closed her legs to hold Zhou Hao's hand. Her cheeks were red as she said, "Xiao Hao, no, this is not at home." "It is only exciting if you are not at home." Zhou Hao moved closer to Yin Qingqing and kissed her cheek. However, Yin Qingqing still pushed him away. After all, she was much more shy than Su Lin. She could not possibly do anything with Zhou Hao in the office. Zhou Hao knew her character, so he did not force her. He only touched her soft and smooth thighs a few times to show off his brotherhood. "You haven't told me why you want those shares to drop." Yin Qingqing was afraid that Zhou Hao would continue to mess with her, so she quickly changed the topic. Zhou Hao looked at Yin Qingqing, who was hiding far away, and pulled her over to his arms. "At the same time," he explained, "you need to wait for the stock to rise before making money. That is just the understanding of ordinary people and the way to market stocks. Just like those individual investors, they can only use low prices to buy and sell at high prices to earn the difference in prices. We are interested in the rise and fall of the entire stock market and the rise and fall of the currency in that region. In fact, we are also earning the difference in prices with those people who buy and sell at low prices. However, our operation process is more complicated than theirs, and the risk is greater. Take the stock index futures we bought in Korea as an example. Let me give you an example." Zhou Hao said to Yin Qing gently, "You see the stock market as a car. In the beginning, the price of this car was 200,000 yuan, but I estimate that his price will fall. So I will pay some deposit to the car store and then loan this car back for use first. After a while, the price of this car indeed fell to 150,000 yuan. Then I used 150,000 yuan to buy another similar car and returned it to the car dealership. So, did I earn 50,000 yuan?" After listening to Zhou Hao's vivid explanation, Yin Qingqing also had a preliminary understanding. She nodded and said, "So that's how it is. Then how do you know whether the stock will rise or fall?" "I heard that there are many factors affecting the rise and fall of the stock market. The risk is very high." Zhou Hao smiled and said, "Of course the risk is high, especially when we are trading futures. Although the returns are very high, the risk is also much greater than ordinary people trading stocks. So futures can make people rich overnight, but it can also make people bankrupt overnight. As for why I knew that the Korean stock market would plummet, in fact, with the current situation, many people could see that the scope of the financial storm would become bigger and bigger. As a part of Asia, it was normal for South Korea to be affected. However, I am more clear about the exact date of the fall of the Korean stock market than ordinary people. This relies on the analysis of various data and information. It is very complicated, but there are also some intuitive factors involved. My intuition tells me that the Korean stock market will fall. He looked at the screen on the opposite wall that showed the trend of the Korean stock market and said, "This time, we will buy a large number of contracts from the Korean stock index. As long as their stock market falls, we will be able to make money. We will also make money from those who think that the Korean stock market will rise." Yin Qingqing smiled and pinched Zhou Hao's nose. "You are not a girl. Why are you talking about intuition? You dare to say that about me? Watch how I deal with you." Zhou Hao smiled and scratched Yin Qingqing's armpits and waist, making Yin Qingqing giggle. She kept twisting and dodging on his legs. During the process, she only rubbed her ears and temples together with Zhou Hao's body. It was very alluring. "But, since you said that many people can see it, will they still think that the Korean stock market will rise? But, since you said that many people can see it, will they still think that the Korean stock market will rise?" Yin Qingqing grabbed Zhou Hao's hand and did not let him continue to be impudent. Zhou Hao shook his head and smiled. "Cousin Qingqing, you do not understand the people of South Korea. How should I put it? They are arrogant and self-abased. To put it nicely, the people of South Korea have a strong sense of honor and confidence. To put it bluntly, they are very self-righteous. And because of their inferiority complex, they couldn't afford to lose and couldn't accept defeat. Even if everyone knows that the Korean stock market will fall and all the data shows that the Korean stock market will fall, they still won't admit it. No matter how you try to reason with them, you won't succeed. They just think that their country will win and think that their own country's stock market will rise." He held Yin Qingqing's chin and smiled confidently. "So I have never been worried about whether anyone will buy the futures contract for the Korean stock index to rise. Humph, humph, humph. Just treat it as a lesson for them." Yin Qingqing turned her head and shook Zhou Hao's hand away. She asked, "What about the exchange market you mentioned? What's the matter?" "The exchange market, which is also the foreign exchange market," Zhou Hao explained, "every country is involved in trade, investment, tourism, and other economic transactions. It is inevitable that there will be a monetary income and expenditure relationship. The monetary system of each country is different, which resulted in the exchange of their own currency and foreign currencies. And among them, the exchange market between their currency and foreign currencies is the foreign exchange market." "Then why do you think the Korean currency will depreciate?" Yin Qingqing asked. Zhou Hao smiled and explained, "It's actually because of the financial storm in Asia, but the financial storm in Asia is just a catalyst. It's mainly because there are problems with the economy in Korea. In fact, the reason why the economy of Korea has been developing rapidly over the years is because of the support of the United States. However, now that there was a problem with America's economy, it naturally had no time to bother with South Korea. Furthermore, this financial storm was originally caused by America conniving Soros and Julian. In order to maintain a high rate of economic growth, when Korea's conditions are gradually insufficient, they will use loans to maintain economic growth. However, due to the high economic growth of overdraft and the expansion of unhealthy assets, South Korea slowly no longer has the ability to repay debts. Their foreign debt structure is unreasonable. Once foreign capital flows into their country more than foreign capital, and their own foreign reserves are not enough to make up for their deficiencies, it will be difficult to prevent the depreciation of their currency." Zhou Hao said, "Because it is too easy for large enterprises in Korea to obtain funds from banks. Once the company is not in good condition and cannot pay back the loans from banks, it will cause the bad assets of banks to inflate. This also increases the risk of the depreciation of Korean currency." Yin Qingqing was somewhat entranced when she heard this. Previously, she learned about finance and management. On one hand, she learned it by herself, but the most important thing was Liu Shiping teaching her by hand. She taught her through practice, and this was the first time she touched on the stock market and foreign currencies. In the past, Zhou Hao would always laugh and laugh in front of her. When he was alive, he would touch her. He had never told her such profound knowledge. Looking at Zhou Hao's serious and confident expression, Yin Qingqing looked at him. She said sincerely, "Xiao Hao, you really know a lot. Why else do you think so much money came from the wind? It was all earned through my hard work." Zhou Hao curled his lips and said, I know that my Xiao Hao is a genius." Yin Qingqing kissed the corner of Zhou Hao's mouth and coaxed him like she did when she was young. Zhou Hao touched Yin Qingqing's breast again and continued, "After knowing that Korean won will depreciate greatly, I asked people to borrow a large amount of Korean won from the Korean banks a few months ago. Of course, these were all done through many leather companies. Otherwise, it would cause suspicion in the Korean banks. After borrowing Korean won, we will sell it in the foreign exchange market and exchange it for US dollar. When Korea is affected by the financial storm and the stock market falls, when Korea is unable to support the exchange demand due to the lack of US dollar in the treasury, the entire exchange rate system will collapse. We are no longer able to support the original exchange rate. We can only allow the exchange rate to fall, causing the Korean won to depreciate greatly. At that time, we will exchange the US dollar with the new exchange rate into the Korean won that we need to pay the loan. Then the rest of the difference will be the money we earn," Zhou Hao said with a smile. In fact, his move was George Soros and Julian Robeson and other international speculators used to snipe Thai baht. According to the history of his previous life, Zhou Hao knew that the exchange rate between Korean won and US dollar would eventually drop to an unprecedented 1737.61. The drop almost doubled. Therefore, Zhou Hao used the method from the top to snipe Korean won this time. And the profit he could get was also very generous. It could be called a huge profit. Then he heard Zhou Hao say, "After South Korea is Japan." Speaking of which, Japan was dragged into the water by South Korea. Many Japanese invested large amounts of money into South Korea. Once South Korea collapsed, they lost all their capital, causing many companies to close down. This also dragged Japan into the financial storm. However, Japan's economic crisis lasted for a long time, so the profits were also relatively slow. "Xiao Hao, after this, how much money can you earn?" Yin Qingqing could not help but ask curiously. Zhou Hao thought for a while and said, "After this investment plan against Korea, the funds that I can mobilize at any time will officially break the $10 billion mark." Yin Qingqing said with some confusion, $10 billion US dollars? Then, how much is that? Even if it was 100 million RMB, she had no idea, let alone 10 billion USD. Zhou Hao said with a smile, "The total economic value of Xiang City this year is about 10 billion yuan. The money in my hand is about the same as the money that all the residents of Xiang City can earn in 8 years. Of course, Zhou Hao knew that his words were not very appropriate, because the economy of Xiang City was constantly developing, especially after 2,000 years, its development speed could be described as shocking. He still remembered that in 2004, the total GDP of Xiang City reached 100 billion renminbi, which was 10 times higher than in 1997. However, Yin Qingqing was shocked by Zhou Hao's words. The population of Xiang City was above 500,000, and Zhou Hao's current money was equivalent to the income of these 500,000 people who had worked for 8 years. Most of the people who were the same age as Zhou Hao were still in school. Their food, clothing, and housing were all provided by their parents, and they had never earned a single dollar with their own hard work. Zhou Hao, who was also a 17-year-old, had already grasped tens of billions of dollars of wealth. This was simply unbelievable. Moreover, this was only the circulating funds in Zhou Hao's hands. He did not include the North Pole Star and the Heavenly River. One should know that there were 2 channels under the North Pole Star, the Galaxy Television Station and the Asia Television Limited Television Station. There was also a broadcast satellite worth more than 1 billion yuan. The Heavenly River had become the leader of the private beverage companies in the country, and it was developing very quickly. The combined value of these 2 companies was probably 10 billion renminbi. Looking at Zhou Hao's handsome face, Yin Qingqing really could not imagine that when she was young, he was still her little tail. Zhou Hao, who loved to act like a spoiled child, had already achieved such an achievement. After saying this to Yin Qingqing, Zhou Hao dialed Song Jiahao's number again. He knew that Song Jiahao should know what he was going to do, so he didn't call to disturb him. After the call was made, he heard Song Jiahao shout excitedly, "Boss, it fell. It fell. The Korean stock market fell." Just as Zhou Hao had expected, the Korean stock market plunged in mid-November. However, Zhou Hao was right. The Korean shareholders had blind confidence in their own country. They did not let go of their shares when the stock market fell. Those who held futures contracts did not close their shares, so Zhou Hao, who had emptied his stock, kept sucking away the money in their hands. At the same time that the stock market fell, because of the unreasonable economic structure of South Korea, all the hidden dangers were finally triggered by this financial storm. On November 17th, the Korean won's exchange rate fell to the record of 1,008 to 1. The Korean government had no choice but to ask for help from the International Monetary Fund to temporarily control the crisis. Many people thought that the Korean monetary fund crisis was under control, or at least it would not worsen. The Korean shareholders also believed that the country would be able to pull itself together again and not lose the reputation of being the head of the four Asian dragons. However, under the expectations of tens of thousands of people, on December 13th, the Korean won completely collapsed, and the exchange rate of the US dollar rapidly fell to 1737, 60 to 1. It was in line with the history in Zhou memory. Just as the Korean won's exchange rate fell to the lowest point in history, Zhou returned all the Korean won he borrowed from the Korean banks. Of course, the Korean won had depreciated by half compared to when Zhou borrowed it. At that time, the loan that Zhou had borrowed from the Korean bank was about 8 billion Hong Kong dollars, which was 1 billion US dollars. If it was exchanged for Korean won, it would be more than 800 billion Hong Kong dollars. But now, Korean won had depreciated by half. The original value of 800 billion Hong Kong dollars was only worth 500 million US dollars, which meant that Zhou only needed to pay 500 million US dollars. In this operation against Korea, just in the foreign exchange market, Zhou had earned nearly 1 billion USD. In the Korean stock market, Zhou had also earned 1 billion USD. Back then, Zhou had invested 120 billion Hong Kong dollars in Korea, and now he had earned close to 20 billion Hong Kong dollars. If this was made public, it would definitely shake the entire financial world. However, Zhou knew that after the financial storm in Asia, although George Soros's name had become even more famous, he had also found the hatred of almost all of Asia. Some warlords in Thailand had even sent out secret troops to assassinate him. Many of the mafia who had suffered heavy losses in the financial storm had also sent out assassins. If it wasn't for the protection of the United States, George Soros would have died a long time ago. Although Zhou looked down on Korea in his heart, a rabbit would bite when forced into a corner. At that time, if the Korean people knew that he had played a role in their economic crisis, they might really do something about it. The office on the first floor of Hong Kong Plaza was the temporary headquarters of Galaxy Investment. Including the owner of the plaza, no one would have thought that in this office, this Galaxy Investment would be able to produce more than 10 billion US dollars in a year. Previously, because Galaxy Investment did not provide services to the outside world and did not solicit investment clients, the employees inside were busy operating computers every day. When the property management office in the public square saw that such an investment company did not do investment business, they thought that it was a criminal group that was laundering money. They even reported it to the police. Later, it was Zhang Yingpei who helped Galaxy clarify the matter. He also did not publicize this matter. So until now, the ordinary citizens of Hong Kong and the people in the financial world did not know that there was an investment company that was famous all over the world hidden here. At this moment, in the office of Galaxy Investment, Song Jiahao, Willie Worth, and many other employees were celebrating. The air was filled with the strong smell of champagne and wine, as well as some color papers used to celebrate. Come, for the success of this South Korea strategy, let's toast. Song Jiahao raised the champagne in his hand high up. Cheers! Willie Worth and the other employees also raised their glasses. Song Jiahao smiled at everyone. The boss said that the success of this operation depended on everyone's joint efforts, so he decided to take out 30 million US dollars from the profits of this operation as the reward for our work this time. Yay! Hearing this news, the employees present, regardless of whether they were male or female, all screamed out in excitement. This was because there were a total of 60 employees in the company. If they were distributed evenly, each of them would be able to receive about 500,000 US dollars in bonuses. Not only that, but they had also invested their money in Korea with the company. Now that they had taken over the company, their profits were 2 to 3 times higher. Although they were just ordinary employees of Galaxy Investment, their net worth was much more than the executives of the big companies in Hong Kong. Zero. Especially Song Jiahao and Willie Worth. They were probably worth more than 10 million USD now. Therefore, they were determined to follow the Galaxy and Zhou. Where's the boss? Is he still in China? A female British employee asked in Mandarin, which he was not familiar with. Zhou's operation team consisted of many financial elites of different nationalities. Zhou's performance in the past year was too amazing, and his prediction of the stock market was very accurate. They did not know and did not believe in the fact that they had been reborn. So they thought that Zhou had deduced the direction of the stock market through precise analysis. They were the elites in this aspect. Naturally, they knew how complicated and difficult it was to deduce the direction of the stock market. It required a large amount of information and data to be calculated. Zhou was only a young man less than 20 years old. He was such a young man, yet he had completed such a large amount of analysis. Apart from geniuses, His hard work was also admirable. Therefore, everyone in the company did not look down on Zhou Hao because of his age. Instead, they were full of admiration for him. They were all wondering what kind of culture could nurture such a genius. Therefore, their admiration for Zhou Hao also aroused their curiosity and worship towards China's culture. Later on, many people started to learn Mandarin and Han culture. Song Jiahao smiled at the female employee and said, "Yeah, the boss still has things to do in China, so he won't come over. However, in order to reward everyone, he has already asked me to book a room in the Club of the Peninsula Hotel. Tonight, everyone can enjoy it to your heart's content. All the expenses will be reimbursed by the company." Hearing this, the crowd burst into cheers. Then, a male American employee said, "Speaking of which, the boss is really the most amazing financial genius I have ever seen. I used to work in George Soros's quantum fund, but even the cunning George could not predict the stock market so accurately like the boss. One should know that in order to gather the British pound, George had all the analysts work day and night for more than 2 months before he could basically calculate the financial situation of Britain. That was the top analysts George hired from all over the world. But the boss could do it alone. It's really unbelievable. Yeah, the boss is more powerful than any of the speculators I have seen." Willie Worth, who was standing in front of the window, took a sip of his wine. "Even the tiger in the financial world, Julian. I'm afraid Robeson can't compare to him." Willie Worth was a German man in his 30s. Although he had pure German blood, his nationality was American. Willie Worth was found by Zhao Yuqin through a foreign headhunting company when she was building the Galaxy Investment Company for Zhou Hao. According to the world-famous headhunter company, Willie Worth was a rising star on Wall Street in New York. Willie Worth's financial ability was just as the headhunting company said. He and Song Jiahao were the 2 best operators in Galaxy. However, unlike Song Jiahao, Willie Worth was still single. He was very handsome, so he was the most popular Diamond King in the company except for Zhou Hao. "Oh right, did you see the local news in Korea?" Suddenly, a French female employee said, "Many people who went bankrupt in the stock market jumped off buildings and committed suicide, including the executives of some big companies. Although we are not the main reason for this financial storm, we have also played a role in adding fuel to the fire, so I feel a little uneasy." However, Willie Worth sneered and said faintly, "I advise you to put away your useless compassion. In the aspect of financial operations, it was neither moral nor moral. This is just an operation. The financial market does not belong to the moral category. Morals don't exist here, because the financial market has its own game rule." He looked at the employees in the company. "We are participants in the financial market. We will play this game according to the rules set by the company. We will not violate these rules, so we do not need to feel guilty or responsible. From this financial storm, even if we don't do anything, it will still happen." If Zhou Hao was present, he would be very surprised. Because what Willie Worth said was exactly the same as what George Soros said to the media after the financial storm in Asia in his previous life. He then heard Willie Worth say, "And, just like what the boss said, if those Koreans weren't because of their ridiculous so-called national confidence, if they hadn't kept holding onto the shares in their hands, they wouldn't have ended up like this. In the boss's words, those Koreans aren't worth pitying." While Song Jiahao and Willie Worth were celebrating, Zhou Hao was also on the phone with Zhao Yuqin in the general manager's office of Galaxy Securities. "Sister, have you thought about where to go for a vacation?" Zhou Hao asked with a smile as soon as he dialed Zhao Yuqin's number. Zhao Yuqin was stunned. Then she remembered that Zhou Hao had told her that after he earned 10 billion USD, he would go on a trip with her. Now that she heard Zhou Hao ask this question, Zhao Yuqin was interested in coming over. Her heart couldn't help but beat faster. She bit her lips and asked Zhou Hao, "Xiao Hao, you earned $10 billion?
Yes.
Zhou Hao said excitedly. "And I'm afraid you will say that I'm cheating. I haven't included the fixed assets and shares of Tianhe and the North Pole Star. Right now, I only have 10.9 billion US dollars in funds that I can transfer at any time." "Ha ha ha, sister, I finally did it." Back then, Zhao Yuqin was Old Master Zhao's daughter, so her identity was too special. Moreover, she was 7 or 8 years older than Zhou Hao. Facing all these obstacles, Zhou Hao knew that with his status as an ordinary person, it would be very difficult for him to carry a beauty like Zhao Yuqin home. But he had no intention of having a career, so he could not work in politics, so he increased his strength through business. At that time, he had sold precious medicinal formulas to the Guangzhou and Nanjing military districts, which were represented by Zhao Dingzhou and Zhu Yongquan, in order to shorten his relationship with the military. Later on, Old Master Zhao took Zhou Hao as his godson, which made Zhou Hao's relationship with Zhao family become much closer. Although the relationship between Zhou Hao and the Zhao family had become closer, Zhou Hao knew that if he didn't have enough strength, it would be very difficult for old Master Zhao to give his beloved daughter to him. With the status and identity of the Zhao family, those wealthy businessmen in the country who had assets of over 10 billion RMB might not be interested in them. Therefore, Zhou Hao set a target for himself, 10 billion USD. In China, the concept of official status was very important. Even so, the power represented by money was also very important. When a person's wealth increased to a certain extent, the power that followed would also increase. This was the so-called privilege. And this power that was based on money was especially prominent in America. Of course, if a person really committed a crime that angered the heavens, or if it caused dissatisfaction among the upper echelons, no matter how rich you were, it would not work in China. However, dealing with a person with a net worth of 10 billion was ultimately more difficult than dealing with an ordinary person. It was because of this that Zhou Hao made a promise not to eat Zhao Yuqin until he earned 10 billion USD. In fact, even if Zhou Hao did not earn that much money, Zhao Yuqin was very willing to give her pure body to him. After all, Zhao Yuqin liked Zhou Hao's people, not his money. But since Zhou Hao made that 10 billion US dollars promise, Zhao Yuqin was happy to let him work hard. After all, no one wanted the man they liked to be a useless person. Seeing that Zhao Yuqin did not speak, Zhou Hao smiled and urged her, "There are so many countries and regions in the world. Where do you want to go? No matter where you go, Xiao Hao will always be by your side. How about you decide? Wherever you go, sister will go." Zhao Yuqin said shyly, as if she wanted to marry a chicken and follow a dog. Although they did not meet, Zhou Hao could totally imagine Zhao Yuqin's seductive look. He said, "Why don't we?" Zhou Hao asked. "I heard that the scenery there is very beautiful." Zhao Yuqin's soft sound came from the other side of the phone. Just as Zhou Hao was about to discuss when to leave with Zhao Yuqin, the phone on the desk rang at an inappropriate time. Zhou Hao immediately frowned, thinking who was so annoying to call when he was chatting with Zhao Yuqin. He wanted to pull out the phone line on the phone, but he was also worried that Zhao Yuqin had something important to tell him. Helpless, Zhou Hao could only say to Zhao Yuqin on the other side of the phone, "Sister, wait a moment. I'll take the call first." Then he put down the phone and picked up the phone on the other side of the phone. Ninja said discontentedly in his heart, "Hello, I'm Zhou Hao. Boss, something happened." It was Dai Zhanwang again, and it was the same opening statement Zhou Liren had said when he stole the formula for the orange and fruit grains. What happened again? Zhou Hao sighed. Dai Zhanwang said anxiously, "Boss, do you have something on your side? Turn on the TV and take a look." TV. Zhou Hao picked up the remote control and turned on the TV in the office. There was an advertisement for a TV that sold fruit juice drinks. The advertisement was about a female high school student who wanted to buy a bottle of drinks for the boy she liked after the basketball game. When she came to the school's little merchandise shop, she saw the orange fruit in the transparent fridge. She wanted to buy orange fruit, but the orange fruit, the price was 3.50 cents, and she only had $3 on her. When the owner of the little merchandise shop saw that the girl was in a difficult position, he took out another type of orange juice from the fridge. The name was Fresh Orange. Then, the owner smiled brightly at the girl and said, "Let's buy this. It's only 3 yuan, cheaper than the orange juice." The final advertisement slogan was, "There are more fruits, and the price is lower." After watching this advertisement, not only did the fresh orange juice drink, which was very famous in his previous life, shock him, it also showed that the price of fresh orange was lower than the price of fruit orange. This fresh orange more advertisement was like a declaration of war against fruit orange. Moreover, although this more fresh orange juice was the same name as the beverage produced by the Unified Corporation in Zhou Hao's previous life, it was the same as orange juice with orange juice. Thus, the matter was very clear. The formula of the orange juice that Zhou Liren stole from Sky River was sold to this company that produced fresh orange juice. Therefore, Zhou Hao paid close attention to the company that produced the fresh orange in the advertisement. Humph! Zhou Hao snorted coldly because the company that introduced more than 100 pieces of orange was not the unified company in his previous life, but Fengshan Group. Zhou Hao had heard about the Fengshan Group from Zhao Yuqin a long time ago. This company was organized by Liang Fengshan. From this, it seemed like the Fengshan Group had ordered Zhou Liren to steal the recipe for the orange fruit. Even if it wasn't them who ordered it, but Zhou Liren who took the initiative to find them, Zhou Hao couldn't forgive him. Looking at the advertisement of more than a little orange, Zhou Hao gritted his teeth and said, "Liang Fengshan. Boss, we bought some fresh orange back. The taste and texture are very similar to our orange fruits." Daizhan said over the phone. Moreover, their price is 50 cents lower than ours. Zhou Hao took a deep breath. He had to admit that the Fengshan Group's advertisement was very good. Just like the advertisement of orange and fruit made by Sky River, Fengshan Group's advertisement of more and more fresh orange was the same. It covered a very large area. Although there were no celebrities in the advertisement, Fresh Orange More, no matter if it was the male and female high school students or the owner of the little merchandise shop, they were all nameless people. However, this coincided with their theme, which was that the price was low. This was because big stars often represented a high price, and this advertisement without any celebrities walked the cheap path of being close to the people. Although fruit ornaments were advertised by the two heavenly kings Guofuqing and Lu Dehua, they were sought after by many admirers. Although the price of more than an orange was only 50 cents lower than orange, many people were still willing to choose the cheaper more than an orange when the taste and taste were almost the same. Damn it! Zhou Hao slammed on the desk. Under his strength, a crack appeared on the desk. What Zhou Hao hated the most was not the competition between the Fengshan Group and his Heavenly River for the beverage market in the country. Instead, he hated them for letting Zhou Liren steal the formula of orange fruit. If it were someone else who stole the formula of the orange fruit, Zhou Hao would not be so angry. Zhou Liren not only destroyed the last hope in his heart for his father, but also hurt Yin Tong greatly in the future. Boss, do you think we should reduce the strengthening by a little? Daizhan Wang did not know how angry Zhou Hao was, but he still gave his suggestion. Because they had investigated the Fengshan Group before, they knew that it was only stronger than the Heavenly River. Daizhan Wang and the others knew very well that once the formula of more than orange fruits was released, it would definitely take away a large portion of the beverage market created by orange fruits, regardless of who the formula belonged to. No way. Zhou Hao refused flatly. I won't fight a price war with anyone. This method of mutual destruction is not suitable for me. He knew the disadvantages of a price war. Not only would it reduce the profits of the Heavenly River, but it would also make the consumers of the outside world think that there was something wrong with the Heavenly River, which would cause the power of the Heavenly River Company to be questioned. In the beginning, more than orange was used as a gimmick to lower the price. However, if orange grains were to be lowered, according to the common mentality of the people in China, they would only be more inclined to more than orange. At this time, Zhao Yuqin's voice also came from Zhou Hao's handphone. Xiao Hao, our headquarters in Sky River received a lawyer's letter and a subpoena from the court. They said that we violated the assets of Fengshan Group. Zhou Hao's Heavenly River Drink Group's headquarters was located at the mineral water production base in Jingyu County. The plant in Huayu village that specialized in producing orange fruits and other fruit juice drinks was only a branch of the Heavenly River Drink Group. Therefore, some official documents with the nature of official letters were sent to the headquarters in Jingyu County. When Zhao Yuqin said that she had received a letter from the Fengshan Group's lawyer, she asked doubtfully, taken their assets. When did we invade their assets? Zhao Yuqin said, according to what the lawyer said in the letter, they said that the orange fruit formula originally belonged to the Yangzhou Fruit Juice Factory. Now that the Yangzhou Fruit Juice Factory had been bought by the Fengshan Group, the orange fruit formula also belonged to the Fengshan Group. Moreover, the Fengshan Group not only sued our Heavenly River, but also the original developers of the orange fruit formula, Li Chufan and Song Buqian, also sued them, saying that they took the orange fruit from the Yangzhou Fruit Juice Factory without permission. After hearing Zhao Yuqin's words, Zhou Hao did not get angry. Instead, he laughed. This Liang Fengshan is too ruthless. This is clearly a thief calling a thief a thief. Zhao Yuqin knew Zhou Hao's character very well, so she knew that he was actually very angry at the moment, so she comforted him. Actually, we don't need to be afraid of them. After all, we have already applied for a patent for orange fruit from the beginning. They will not benefit from it. They never really thought about winning this lawsuit. Zhou Hao said, Liang Fengshan did this to ruin the name of Ao, Heavenly River, and publicize his Fengshan Group. As for the outcome of this lawsuit, he didn't care at all. Originally, it was very difficult for him to succeed. But now that he has the formula of orange fruit and developed it into orange more than, it will make the public unable to distinguish between real and fake, and thus question the image of our Sky River. Zhao Yuqin suddenly understood and then said curiously, but, with Liang Fengshan's abilities, he shouldn't be able to come up with such a sinister plan, right? Could it be that he has the help of an expert? Although Liang Fengshan himself doesn't have much talent, he has a father who is the governor. He has both power and money. As the saying goes, when there is a great reward, there will always be a brave man. As long as he wants to do it, I believe that many capable people will be willing to work for him. Zhou Hao said. just like the large family businesses that had been passed down for several generations in the country and abroad. In order to prevent their descendants from losing their family property due to their incompetence, many of these large family businesses used professional managers to manage their businesses. They used talented managers or an entire management group to help their families manage their wealth. In this way, as long as the people in the family enjoyed wealth, it would be good. It was the same for Liang Fengshan now. As long as he had money, he wasn't afraid that he wouldn't be able to find an outstanding talent to manage the Fengshan group for him. Zhou Hao asked Zhao Yuqin, by the way, elder sister, which court issued the subpoena? It's the People's Court of Yangzhou City. They have officially accepted this case. Zhao Yuqin replied, Xiao Hao, are we going to fight this case? Of course. Zhou Hao said, this concerns the image of Heavenly Rivers Company. We can't not fight it. Besides, Uncle Li and Uncle Song have also been affected. We can't just stand idly by. However, this time, we have fallen into a passive situation. Whether we win or lose, we will spread the name of the Fengshan Group across the entire country. This is the same as helping the Fengshan Group achieve their goal. What we can do now is to protect the reputation of Heavenly River. Zhao Yuqin said, the subpoena was sent by the People's Court of Yangzhou City. We will have to go to Yangzhou City to file a lawsuit. Xiao Hao, are we going? We don't need to go there personally. We just need to send representatives and lawyers there. Zhou Hao said, but even if we have official patent documents, this lawsuit will not end so easily. Liang Fengshan should know that we have already applied for a patent for orange fruit long ago. If he wasn't confident, he wouldn't use stones to smash his own feet. After that, he called Li Shuihan. She, Big Boss, and the rest of the people from the First Army had left Xiang City. Of course, they, the First Army, had already left Xiang City. Therefore, Zhou Hao didn't know where they were and didn't ask about them. Is there any news about the man I asked you to find last time? Zhou Hao asked straightforwardly. I haven't found him yet. Li Shuihan's words were short, and her tone was stiff. However, Zhou Hao did not intend to argue with her. He said, he might be in Yangzhou now. You can go there and look for him. Got it. Li Shuihan answered and hung up. Zhou Hao shook his head secretly. He was also helpless about Li Shuihan's cold attitude. However, since Big Boss had promised to help him find Zhou Liren, they would not go back on their word. As for Zhou Liren's whereabouts, Zhou Hao thought to himself, since he sold the formula of orange fruit to Fengshan Group, he might be in Yangzhou. In the general office of the Fengshan Group's general manager in the Yangzhou, Liang Fengshan was chewing on a cigar. Smoke was coming out of his mouth from time to time. Standing opposite him was the deputy general manager of the Fengshan Group, Juken Sutaku. What's wrong with your advertisement? Liang Fengshan looked at Juken Sutaku. Does our company not have money? Didn't I tell you before? I want to invite a big star to endorse our Xinyu duo. It would be best to poach Guofuqing and Lu Dehua over. But look at it yourself. Don't talk about a superstar like Lu Dehua in the entire advertisement. There's no one with a bit of fame. You're ignoring my words, aren't you? Juken Sutaka said, young Master Liang, Lu Dehua and Guofuqing have signed an agreement with Tianhe that they can endorse other beverages for the next 3 years. As for the reason why they did not invite celebrities to shoot advertisements, it was to highlight the fact that our fresh orange more price is lower and more practical than orange fruits. In fact, this advertisement had been thought up by Juken Sutaku. It was also his idea to directly highlight the subject of more fresh orange grain being cheaper than orange grain. He had also officially pushed more fresh orange grain to the opposite side of orange grain. He handed a document to Liang Fengshan and explained, young Master Liang, this is the statistics for the sales of more fresh orange these few days. After the advertisement was broadcasted, just these few days, our more fresh orange had already been sold for close to half of the stock. Furthermore, 20% of the juice beverage market that was originally occupied by orange has also been snatched away by our fresh orange. When Heavenly River and our lawsuit starts, we will publicize it on purpose. When the reputation of our Fengshan Group spreads, I believe that we will be able to take up more of the market share. Liang Fengshan looked at the statistics and his expression eased up a little. Although he did not have much business talent, he knew that it was a very good result to sell almost half of the stock within a few days. He looked up at Juken Sutaku and said slowly, if it was not for the fact that the sales were not bad, I would have sent you back to prison if you did not listen to my instructions. After a while, he said, now we're talking about cheap and cheap tricks. Will Zhou Hao and the others also lower the price and fight with us? If they really have the ability and vision, they will not fight with us for the price. It will not do them any good. Juken Sutaku said neither servile nor overbearing. Even if they were to lower the price, I would not agree to fight with them in a price war. Because the production cost of fresh orange is about the same as orange. Each bottle costs about 2 to 5 yuan. Right now, we are deliberately lowering the price in order to seize their market, but in general, every bottle they sell is worth 50 cents more than ours. If we lower the price, the profit will be minimal, and it will not be good for the company. Liang Fengshan laughed coldly. If Zhou dares to fight me in a price war, I will be happy to accompany him. Jukin Sitaku frowned slightly and said, Young Master Liang, since our sales are good, are we going to return a portion of the loan from the bank first? Why? Liang Fengshan looked at Jukin Sitaku. It's because our sales are good that we want to expand our production and completely snatch back Zhou's market. Return the loan? Let's put it aside for now. I plan to borrow a few hundred million to increase our production. But young Master Liang, our company already owes Construction Bank and Industrial and Commercial Bank a total of more than 3 billion. Jukin Sataka said, it's already very impressive that we can pay off these loans within 2 years. If we borrow again, the company will fall into a situation where the funds are unable to pay off the debts. Liang Fengshan waved his hand. There's nothing to worry about. Do you think that the building and trading company will come to collect the debts from us? It turned out that the money Liang Fengshan used to purchase more than 10 large beverage companies in Jiangsu province was borrowed from the Industrial and Commercial Bank and Construction Bank. Because of Liang Zhoutang, both banks quickly approved this huge loan. Furthermore, with Liang Fengshan's ability, if he wanted to buy those state-owned beverage companies, he could totally let the government sell them to him at a low price. However, Liang Xintang did not want others to catch evidence, so he did not allow Liang Fengshan to do that. But since it was the young master of the province who wanted to buy them, those state-owned beverages companies did not dare to ask for an exorbitant price. The purchase price was 20 to 30% lower than their company's value. This could be considered letting Liang Fengshan take advantage of them. Therefore, if the purchase price of those beverage companies were not lower than the original value, the Fengshan Group would owe more than 3 billion to the bank. On this day, Zhou came to the office of the Heavenly River Drink Group in Guangzhou. This office was the office of the sales department and advertising department of Heavenly River. It was mainly responsible for the sales and marketing of all kinds of products produced by Heavenly River. Zhou's Sky River Drink Group was divided into 3 parts. The first part was the mineral water production base in Jingyu County. The second part was the branch factory in Huayu Village, and the third part was the sales department and advertising department in Guangzhou. Because the mineral water produced by Heavenly River was mainly targeted at the markets in Guangzhou and Shenzhen, Zhao Yuqin set up the sales department and advertising department here for convenience. At that time, the production base of Jingyu County had not started work, and the factory in Huayu Village was still under construction. Hence, this office was considered the headquarters of Heavenly River. Later on, the factory in Huayu Village was built and put into use, but Zhao Yuqin had to go to Jingyu County to take care of the progress of the production base. Since Zhao Yuqin, the commanding officer, went to Jingyu County, then the headquarters of Tianhe naturally fell asleep and Zhao Yuqin moved away. As for the sales department and advertising department in Guangzhou, they had not moved away. According to Zhou's plan, he wanted to set up another headquarters in the Sky River Drink Group after it was completely on track. He wanted to take charge of the business of the Sky River Drink Group. This office in Guangzhou was set up in a horsemanship building that had a history of over 100 years. Zhao Yuqin liked the horsemanship culture in Guangzhou, so she bought a building. After a brief renovation, it became an office. So this office did not have a modern atmosphere like an ordinary office building. Instead, it had a quiet and ancient atmosphere, making the staff inside feel very comfortable. Apart from Zhou, Daijian Wang, the director of the Huayu Village branch factory, and Li Chufan, the director of the technology development department, also came. The sales manager was a married man in his 40s, Yu Yoguang. The advertising department manager was a single woman in her 30s, Yuan Shuang. These 2 people had been dug out by Zhao Yuqin from the outside. Yu Yoguang had been recruited from the outside. He was originally the boss of a company that produced canned food. Later on, he was forced to close down due to competition. Because Zhao Yuqin had met him once before and knew that he was capable of managing, she hired him to be the sales department's manager. As for Yuan Shuang, she was studying advertising and designing in the United States. After 2 years in New York, she returned to her country and was invited back by Zhao Yuqin. When they saw Zhou in casual clothes, Yu Yoguang and Yuan Shuang greeted him, "Boss." Zhou nodded. Zhou had met them when he was making the advertisement for orange fruits. Yuan Shuang, who came from the advertising department, was very impressed by Zhou's advertisement design. Zhou Hao's talent in junior high school, and Yuan Shuang knew that he had over 100 million yuan at such a young age. Therefore, after living in the United States for many years, Yuan Shuang, who had an open-minded personality, took advantage of the opportunity to advertise with Zhou Hao and took advantage of the opportunity to take advantage of him from time to time. However, Zhou Hao did not call this leftover girl much and did not respond to her at all. This time, the few managers of Heavenly River gathered together to discuss the matter of Fengshan Group. The meeting room was a small hall in Qilu, surrounded by a few armchair chairs. Zhou Hao did not hesitate and sat on the main seat. He asked, "How's the lawsuit with Fengshan Group going?" Dai Zhanwang said, "We have already found a lawyer division to represent our company to Yangzhou." Director Song also went over, and Fengshan Group also sent lawyers. The lawsuit is still ongoing. The director Song he was talking about was the deputy director of Heavenly River Technology Development Department, Song Buoqian. "Don't we have official patent documents? Why is it going on for so long?" Li Chufan asked. Daizhan looked at Zhou Hao and said, "Because Fengshan Group also has official documents." Zhou Hao was slightly puzzled and asked Daizhan Wang, "They also have official proof documents? What is it?" The Yangzhou fruit juice factory took out a document to prove that the Formula 4 orange fruit was approved by the factory before Director Li and Director Song left the Yangzhou fruit juice factory. The Yangzhou fruit juice factory had passed the approval and was about to start production when Director Li and Director Song left with the formula and most of the technical staff. Therefore, the Formula 4 orange fruit grain should belong to the Yangzhou fruit juice factory. The Yangzhou Notary Office also took out proof that the formula is the property of the Yangzhou fruit juice factory. Bullsh *T. Li Chufan was furious when he heard that. When did the factory approve it? Those guys didn't even look at our proposal and threw it aside. And that notary office, it was all bulls *it. Zhou Hao raised his hand and said, "Uncle Li, please calm down. The Yangzhou is full of Liang Fengshan's men. It's not difficult for him to bring out these so-called evidence. However, our patent documents are also officially issued by the country. We're not afraid of them using any tricks." The few people present nodded. Yu Yoguang said at this time, "Boss, your previous estimation was not bad. The media is now making a big fuss about our lawsuit against the Fengshan Group. These few days, the name of the Fengshan Group has spread all over the country. The media in other places are still all right, but they only reported this matter objectively. However, the television station in Jiangsu is obviously biased towards the Fengshan Group. In the open and in the dark, they say that our group has invaded the Fengshan Group's assets and has no integrity to speak of." "Why are they saying that?" Yuan Shuang said indignantly. "Let's not talk about the Fengshan Group slandering us. But now that the court has no judgment, how can they say that we are the ones occupying the Fengshan Group's assets? Shouldn't the reporters be fair and just, telling the truth to the public?" Zhou Hao knew that Yuan Shuang had been influenced by the culture in the United States, so he smiled and shook his head. The situation in the country is different from in the United States. Almost all the media in the country is the government's tongue. Whatever they want to say, whatever they don't want to say, it's up to the government to decide. Jiangsu can be said to be Liang Fengshan's territory, so the media there naturally catered to what he wanted to say. Furthermore, Zhou Hao thought even more deeply in his heart. The media on Jiangsu's side did not work so hard to cheer for the Fengshan Group just to please Liang Fengshan. Perhaps even the government of Jiangsu province wanted to support the Fengshan Group in attacking the Heavenly River. Similar to Guangdong, Jiangsu had always wanted to compete with Guangdong. Tianhe was a business in Guangdong, and its previous rise was also very eye-catching. Now that the Fengshan Group was competing with the Heavenly River, it wasn't just a competition between companies. Jiangsu's side also wanted to use the competition between the Fengshan Group and the Heavenly River to show off their strength in Guangdong. Zhou Hao thought that if the Jiangsu province government really interfered, the Guangdong government would not stand idly by. Thinking of this, the corner of his mouth curled up slightly and revealed a faint smile. In China, the competition between companies, especially those large companies with billions of assets, was often mixed with the power of different local governments. This was because large companies not only affected the local economy, but also the face of the local government, but also involved the interests of the local government. As for the competition between provinces, it was not easy for Zhao family to interfere. At least, they would not interfere openly. This was because the biggest taboo in the central government was the collusion between the central government and the local government. Although there were a lot of such situations, no one would dare to openly put it on the table. However, even if the Zhao family didn't interfere, Zhou Hao wasn't worried because he had already come up with a plan to deal with the Fengshan Group. Furthermore, since the Guangdong government wouldn't stand idly by, Zhou Hao was happy to use the power of the provincial government. Zhao Dingzhou was the commander of the Guangzhou military, so there was no need to talk about his relationship with Zhou Hao. Fan Li's father, Fan Yiming, was the mayor of Guangzhou City. Although Fan Yiming did not have any relationship with Zhou Hao and Fan Liza had worked together a few times, and their relationship was quite good. He had connections with the military of Guangdong province and the mayor of the provincial capital city. Zhou Hao planned to get closer to the provincial government. After all, he was also from Guangdong, and there would be many opportunities for him to develop in Guangdong in the future. This time, it was the perfect opportunity for Zhou Hao to build a relationship with the provincial government. As expected, a female assistant of Yuan Shuang walked in and said to Yuan Shuang and Yu Yoguang, Manager Yuan, Manager Yu, a Mr. Peng just called. He said he's from the Provincial Industrial and Commerce Bureau, and he wants to talk to the person in charge of our company. Dai Zhanwang and the others looked at Zhou Hao when they heard that. Zhou Hao thought to himself that he really came. He smiled at the female assistant and said, Then let him make an appointment. Got it, Mr. Zhou. The female assistant turned around and left. However, looking at the back of the female assistant, Zhou Hao frowned because he felt something. From the moment he came in, he felt like he was being watched, which made him very uncomfortable. And after this female assistant came in, Zhou Hao felt even more strongly. The current Zhou Hao had already firmly believed in his intuition. Furthermore, ever since he met Big Boss from the First Army in Taro, Zhou Hao had started cultivating when he felt the pressure, constantly strengthening the genuine aura in his body. Now, his inner energy was getting deeper and deeper, and his spiritual sense and sixth senses were getting sharper and sharper. Even if he did not rely on his intuition, he would still be able to detect subtle things. He secretly paid attention to this meeting room, thinking that it could not be that someone had installed a listening device or a pinhole camera here. In the evening, Wei Yuding was still working in the office of Sky River Advertising Department. She was Yuan Shuang's female assistant. She was hired by Yuan Shuang a month ago through headhunting. At that moment, a young man who worked in the advertising department walked over and said to Wei Yuding shyly, Yuding, my friend gave me 2 movie tickets. I can't find anyone else to watch with me. Can you come with me? Seeing the man's flushed face, Wei Yuding found it funny in her heart, but she showed a polite smile on her face. It's better that I don't want it. I have an appointment with a friend tonight. How about next time? Hearing Wei Yuding's tactful rejection, the man left dejectedly. Looking at his departing figure, Wei Yuding smiled bitterly and shook her head. It was already past 6 o'clock. The rest of the people in the office had already returned home in succession. Only Wei Yuding was still here. She looked at the clock on the wall, and then at the empty office. She stood up and pushed the door open to enter Yuan Shuang's office. Yuan Shuang, Yu Yoguang, and a few other company managers had to discuss the matter of Fengshan Group, so they left the office early in the morning. Wei Yuding gently closed the door and quickly came to Yuan Shuang's desk. She flipped through the documents in the drawer on the desk. After a while, she found an advertisement proposal for a few types of juice drinks from Tianhe. She was delighted and immediately took the proposal to make a copy. After putting the original copy back to its original place, she took the copy and left the office. After leaving with Wei Yuding, a voice quietly appeared in the corner of the office. It was Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao sneered. There is indeed a problem. Wei Yuding quickly returned to her residence. It was a small temporary rental unit. At this time, she was sorting out some documents in the room. It was the documents that she had stolen from the advertising department of Sky River. Suddenly, someone knocked on the door. Wei Yuding quickly put away the documents on the table, then walked to the door and asked, Who is it? Who is it? Who is it? Hurry up and open the door. A male voice came from outside. Wei Yuding snorted and opened the door. There were 3 men standing outside, all of them unattractive. After Wei Yuding opened the door, the 3 men did not stand on ceremony. They walked into the room and sat down casually. Black Widow, what have you gained in the past few days? One of the men with long hair laughed. Today, other than Zhao Yuqin in Beijing, all the higher-ups of Tianhe have come to our place for a meeting. Hey, this is the first time I have seen that Zhou Hao. I didn't expect him to be so young. Wei Yuding, who was called the Black Widow, said to the man, Fly, have you recorded their meeting? The fly took out a disc and smiled. Of course I did. You can take it to the boss to collect money. Wei Yuding looked at the tall and thin man on the other side. Rat, what about you? How's the situation in Huayu village? Lao Shu shook his head. They have been keeping a tight watch since the recipe for the orange fruit was stolen. They transferred the soldiers from the military camp nearby to guard the laboratory. We, the security guards, no longer have the keys to the laboratory. Only Li Chufan and Dai Zhanwang have the keys. Besides, they also have a fingerprint recognition device installed. Those who are not predetermined will not be able to enter the laboratory. At this point, he patted his thigh and said, "Damn it, if I had known this would happen, we would have stolen the formula long ago. We wouldn't have been in such a dilemma now. It's all that fellow's fault for stealing the formula. Don't let me find him. Otherwise, I will definitely give him a good beating." Moreover, the Coca-Cola side doesn't give us much funds. The man in his 30s said, "I'll pretend to be a distributor in Guangdong province and order an order from Tianhe," but they stipulated that the order under 10 million yuan needs to be audited 3 times. Damn, my identity was almost exposed. To think I was so busy running around. It's useless to keep going. Wei Yuding turned pale. He glanced at her. "Say, Spider, don't complain. I'd rather trade with you. You don't know how annoying that guy in the office is. He's treating me to a meal today, and tomorrow he's treating me to a movie. I'm so annoyed." The man named Spider smiled and said, "Who asked our Black Widow to be beautiful? However, doesn't that fellow know that the Black Widow has the habit of killing husbands? You really don't know what's good for you. If you want to kill me, I'll be the first to kill you." Black Spider picked up an urn and threw it over. Ratty said, all right. Stop messing around. Black Widow, how is it going on your side? I've gotten some advertising planning books these past few days. I can roughly guess what new products Heavenly River has." The Black Widow said, "During this period of time, Heavenly River's people have been busy suing the Fengshan Group. Their vigilance has been greatly reduced." The Fly said, "I saw that the fellow who stole the orange fruit formula must have been sent by the Fengshan Group. F***CK. I didn't expect the Fengshan Group to be so quick to steal the formula before us." "That's right. According to the reward given to us by Coca-Cola, if we can get the formula, we will get at least 3 million USD. The Black Widow also said angrily, "It is because of that fellow that the remuneration has been reduced by half. It is only $5 million US. At this time, the Spider said, "I have already investigated. That Fengshan Group is controlled by a Hong Kong company. Behind the Hong Kong company is a Canada company, and behind it is a Panama trading company. However, after a few rounds, the last person was Liang Fengshan. And this Liang Fengshan is the son of the Jiangsu provincial governor, Liang Zhendong." Ratty rubbed his chin and muttered to himself, "Then the Fengshan Group is just like the Heavenly River. They have an official background. In terms of background, I don't think the Fengshan Group can be compared to the Heavenly River." The Black Widow said that Liang Zhotang is only a governor, and his administrative level is only the main department. But the Zhao family behind the Heavenly River, even if they don't care about that Zhao Rixin, Zhao Dingzhou is still the commander of the Guangzhou military. He is closely related to Zhao Dingzhou, and his status and power are even higher than Liang Zhotang's. The Fly spread his hands. Who cares if they are the governor or the commander? If their great god fights, it will be fine as long as they don't involve us, little fish and shrimp. You also don't need to be so calm. Ratty glanced at him. Zhou Hao has such a close relationship with Zhao family, and Zhao Dingzhou is the commander of the Guangzhou military. If they find out that we are hiding in the Sky River to steal information for Coca-Cola, we will be in big trouble." Just as he finished speaking, there was a loud noise. The door to the Black Widow's residence suddenly collapsed. A group of soldiers in military uniforms rushed in and immediately surrounded the private room. The Fly wanted to escape, but when it saw the soldiers aiming at it, it could no longer move. It obediently raised its hands. Among the 4 people present, Ratty was the calmest. He raised his hands and said to the surrounding soldiers with cold expressions, "Soldiers, may I ask, what did we do that alarmed you? A gathering of friends shouldn't be considered breaking the law, right? Of course, a gathering of friends isn't considered breaking the law, but to steal business secrets, it can't be legal, right?" A male voice came from outside. When the Black Widow and the Fly heard this voice, their faces immediately changed. The soldiers opened up a path, and a man walked in from outside. He was smiling as he looked at the 4 Black Widow soldiers. It was Zhou Hao. When they saw Zhou Hao, the Black Widow and the Fly's faces turned ashen. The Black Widow disguised itself as Yuan Shuang's assistant. They had met Zhou Hao during the meeting with Zhou Hao. The Fly had installed a pinhole camera in the meeting room, so it naturally had seen Zhou Hao before. The Fly said in disbelief, "You? How could you? You want to ask me, how did I discover your clues?" Zhou Hao looked at the man called Mouse and smiled. "You can install eavesdroppers and pinhole cameras in my company's meeting room. Can't we install electronic eyes in Yuan Shuang's office?" When the Black Widow heard Zhou Hao's words, it was greatly shocked. According to Zhou Hao's words, wouldn't all the documents that she had stolen in Yuan Shuang's office fall into the eyes of others? Actually, Zhou Hao did not install electronic eyes in Yuan Shuang's office. He was just lying to the Black Widow and the others. Should he tell them that he was a martial arts master and that his six senses would sense him when he was being spied on? Zhou Hao sneered and said, I didn't expect that my heavenly river would attract business spies back when it just developed. You really think highly of me. In fact, Zhou Hao's understanding of business spies came from some television dramas or movies. Compared to those spies from the National Intelligence Department, business spies were relatively less dangerous, and their economic benefits were also much greater. However, compared to those government spies, Zhou Hao looked down on those commercial spies very much. Because government spies were still loyal to the country, and commercial spies were completely moved for money. Zhou Hao knew that commercial spies were all highly intelligent criminals, which meant that their technical level was especially high. They were very different from those bandits who used weapons. However, the economic losses caused by business spies to a company was far greater than those of those bandits. They could easily cause hundreds of millions, and they were hated by all businessmen. However, there was no specific law in the country that sanctioned commercial espionage. Unlike in the United States, in 1996, there was a special economic espionage law. Zhou Hao asked the soldiers to bring the 4 Black Widow soldiers back to the military base. Because the domestic laws against commercial espionage were very imperfect, it was very difficult to collect evidence, so it was not wise to use the police to deal with them. Therefore, Zhou Hao decided to borrow Zhao Dingzhou's power to bring these few commercial espionage to the military base. In Zhao Dingzhou's office, Zhao Dingzhou smiled at Zhou Hao and said, I didn't expect you to have a business spy in your company. Ha ha ha. These guys are harder to detect than real spies. You are lucky to find them this time. Big brother, don't gloat over there. Zhou Hao glared at Zhao Dingzhou. Luckily, they didn't steal the formula of our product this time. Otherwise, I would have suffered a great loss. Zhao Dingzhou took a sip of the tea and asked Zhou Hao, by the way, do you know who sent these spies? They are also from Fengshan Group. Zhao Dingzhou had also heard about the competition between Heavenly River and the Fengshan Group. They are not from the Fengshan Group. If there are no accidents, I think they should be sent by Coca-Cola. Zhou Hao said. A military officer knocked on the door and entered. He first saluted Zhao Dingzhou and handed him a document. Reporting to the chief, after interrogation, those few people's statements are all here. Zhao Dingzhou flipped through the document and handed it over to Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao took it over and looked at it. He found out that the Black Widow, the Fly, and the Spider were all from China, and the Rat was actually a Korean. Zhou Hao had never thought that he would be a Korean after hearing his Mandarin speak so well. From his statement, Zhou Hao knew that the 4 of them did not belong to any business. They would work for whoever gave them money. It was a spy team similar to mercenary groups. Furthermore, these 4 people had their own roles and had clear division of labor. Ratty was the leader and was in charge of accepting missions and organizing missions. The Black Widow was responsible for infiltrating the target company and stealing the internal information of the target company, as well as being the spy for the other 3. What Zhou Hao did not expect was that the Black Widow was a legitimate Harvard graduate and knew 7 or 8 different languages. The Spider was in charge of pretending to be a peddler to coordinate with the Black Widow's actions. Finally, the Fly was in charge of the use of all kinds of high-tech equipment. The eavesdroppers and cameras in Heavenly River's office were installed there. Zhou Hao said in surprise, I didn't expect this. These 4 people are young, but they are all regulars. Even the high-tech companies in Silicon Valley were harmed by them. TSK, they are indeed working for Coca-Cola this time. Coca-Cola told them that if they can steal our formula, they will be given $5 million as a bonus. Coca-Cola wants your formula? Zhao Dingzhou said, the bonus is so high. Why don't I become a commercial spy in the future? Yes, Zhao Dingzhou said. When we introduced the orange fruit, Coca-Cola wanted to buy Tianhe, but I rejected it. Zhou Hao said, I think they were not willing to give up after that time. So they found these spies to steal the secrets of Tianhe. Zhao Dingzhou asked, what do you want to do with them? If you want to use legal means, there are no relevant laws in the country, and Coca-Cola definitely won't admit it. Zhou Hao smiled. I don't plan to deal with them completely. They have other uses. Zhao Dingzhou shrugged. Make your own decision. Anyway, you, little fox, will never be at a disadvantage. After a separate interrogation, the 4 Black Widow were placed in an independent room. The 4 of them looked at each other for a long time before Ratty let out a long sigh and said, this time, we have completely fallen. What should we do? The Black Widow asked anxiously. We have already investigated before. The Zhao family is very powerful in the country. Dealing with a few of us is as effortless as blowing off dust. If that Zhou wants to kill us, it will be easier than killing an ant. The spider beside them also said, it's over this time. It's really over. Didn't you see that he sent troops to capture us? Zhao Dingzhou is the commander of the Guangzhou military. We can't escape even if we want to. As soon as he finished speaking, the door to the room was pushed open by the soldiers. Zhou Hao appeared in front of the Black Widow's group of 4. Seeing Zhou Hao, the 4 of them felt their hearts skip a beat, especially the smile on Zhou Hao's face. He looked like a death god that had come from hell. Zhou Hao looked at the 4 of them and smiled. 4 of you, how have you been? We are not like the police. We will not do anything like torture and interrogation, so you can rest assured. The 4 of them did not dare to reply. Indeed, when those soldiers interrogated them just now, they didn't use any torture methods to force them to confess. But they all knew that it was because they took the initiative to confess. Otherwise, this was a military base, and their torture methods were much more powerful than that of the police station. Ratty took a deep breath, then looked at Zhou Hao and said, Mr. Zhou, we admit defeat this time. What do you want to do to let us go? Zhou Hao sat down and looked at the 4 of them. Let's calculate first. If you successfully steal our orange formula and give it to Coca-Cola, how much money will we lose? Ratty and the other 3's expressions changed. They heard Zhou Hao say, after the orange and orange formula is introduced, the profits of the orange and orange fruits have reached 3,800 million renminbi in the past month, which is 3.8 billion renminbi in a year. If the orange and orange fruits can be sold in the market for 3 years, then it will be 11.4 billion. Well, I heard that in the black market, hiring an ordinary killer will cost about 450,000 renminbi per person, and the 4 of you can just treat it as 200,000. That is to say, even if the 4 of you die hundreds or thousands of times, you won't be able to compensate for Tianhe's loss. That is to say, even if the 4 of you die hundreds or thousands of times, you won't be able to compensate for Tianhe's loss. Upon hearing Zhou Hao's words, the 4 of them trembled. The Black Widow disguised as Wei Yuding couldn't help but say, You don't think of abusing your private punishment. We didn't steal your orange fruit formula at all. At most, we stole some documents. At most, you can only sue us for stealing and add a fake ID card. Even if you're convicted, you shouldn't be sentenced to death. Zhou Hao looked at the Black Widow with a smile on his face, causing a chill to run down the Black Widow's spine. Zhou Hao then said, I have never thought of using the law to deal with you. You should know that there are too many ways to kill someone. However, Ratty calmed down at this time. He stared at Zhou Hao and said, If you really want to kill us, you don't need to use any methods. Just treat us as spies, and we can let those soldiers shoot us. Mr. Zhou, you don't lie in front of the real person. I know we are still useful to you. That's why you told us so much. Speak. What do you want us to do in order to let us go? Zhou Hao narrowed his eyes. These business spies were indeed high-intelligence criminals who relied on their brains to make a living. Under such high pressure, Ratty could still be so calm and analyze his plans. No wonder he could become the leader of this spy group. He did not want to make things difficult for Ratty and the others. He smiled and said, You are very smart. Well, as long as you can help me do one thing, I will not pursue what you did before. I can also give you a sum of money. What is it? Lao Shu was not in a hurry to agree, because he knew what Zhou Hao wanted them to do was definitely not simple. Zhou Hao smiled. I think you guys have also seen Spies and Discs. Fly's expression changed. You want us to be your double agent to deal with Coca-Cola? Zhou Hao waved his index finger. It's not a double agent. It's a triple agent. I want you to help me deal with Fengshan Group. At the same time, keep in contact with Coca-Cola. Don't let them know that I've seen through you. So, Zhou Hao told them his plan. After Ratty and the others heard his plan, they all felt a chill run down their spines because of Zhou Hao's plan. Furthermore, since Zhou Hao had told them his plan in detail, they had no other choice. Because if they refused to work for Zhou Hao would kill them immediately. Lao Shu looked at Zhou Hao and said, Mr. Zhou, aren't you afraid that we will leave? Haha, you reminded me. Zhou Hao smiled and snapped his fingers. A few soldiers pushed the door open and entered with the first aid kit in their hands. They came in front of Ratty and the other 3 and took out the syringe from the first aid kit. The Black Widow immediately asked, what do you want to do? Zhou Hao did not answer. The soldiers grabbed the 4 of them and pulled out their right arms. They injected the transparent medicine from the syringe into their bodies. Spider looked at Zhou Hao in horror. What did you inject us with? Zhou Hao smiled. It's nothing. It's just a poison. Lao Shu and the others trembled when they heard him. Zhou Hao said again, "But you don't have to be afraid. This kind of poison will not act up in a short period of time." But Zhou Hao's smile faded. "If you don't take the antidote in time, you will have to worry about your life." This was a slow-acting poison that Zhou Hao made according to the Shen Nong's herbal classics. It would not take effect for 3 months, but once 3 months passed without taking the antidote, the poisoned person would die of heart failure. Zhou Hao said to Ratty and the others, "You will have a fever tonight, but it will recover tomorrow. You can also go to the various hospitals to take a look. If you can cure this poison, then you can just leave." Seeing Zhou Hao laughing so confidently, Ratty and the Black Widow's hearts sank. They knew that they had been completely controlled by Zhou Hao. Macau, located on the west side of China's Pearl Triangle, only had an area of about 30 square kilometers. After walking through this city, it was equivalent to walking through 1/20th of Beijing, 1/5 of Hong Kong, or 2 Disneyland. However, this was also a small place. Every year, more than 10 million gamblers would bring hundreds of billions of gambling money to this place. An extended Lincoln slowly drove to the hotel entrance. The clever doorman immediately walked up to open the back door of the VIP room, but was stopped by a man who happened to come down from the passenger seat and shouted, "Get lost?" This man was tall and had a murderous aura around him, which scared the doorman so much that he kept stepping back. When he heard that the man was speaking in the local language, the doorman thought with disdain, "People from the mainland?" The man opened the Lincoln rear door, bent down, and said to the person opposite him, "Young master, we're at the Macau Hotel." This hotel, which looked like a birdcage, was actually the most famous Macau hotel in Macau. It was also the most famous casino in Macau, and even Asia. The man in Lincoln got out of the car and looked up at the lobby of the hotel. He smiled and said, "Humph, humph, humph. I haven't been to the Macau hotel for a long time. I've been so busy lately. I must have a good time this time." When the doorman saw the young man in the expensive suit and heard him speak the same language, he guessed that this must be the nouveau riche from the mainland. Because of the rapid economic development in the country, more and more nouveau riche came to the Macau's Macau Hotel to gamble and play. And the young man who came down from Lincoln was Liang Fengshan. The person who got out of the car with him was Liang Fengshan. There was also a strong man. He was the same as the man from before. He should be Liang Fengshan's bodyguard. Walking into the lobby of the hotel, a man in a hotel uniform, about 40 years old, quickly walked over and said to Liang Fengshan with a smile, "Ah, young Master Liang, it's been a long time since I saw you. What have you been busy with recently?" Seeing the manager who was familiar with him, Liang Fengshan smiled and said, "Haha, I recently set up a company and am very busy. I only have time to rest today. Well, I'll be there to support your company soon." "You are welcome." The manager flattered Liang Fengshan. With young Master Liang's talent, that company must have a huge source of income. "I think it won't take long before you have a place in the top 10 tycoons in China." Liang Fengshan was very pleased with this flattery. He never closed his mouth. After that, Liang Fengshan went straight to the VIP lounge of the Macau casino as usual. The VIP lounge was different from the middle area where ordinary people gathered. It was much quieter, and the environment was much more luxurious. In fact, Liang Fengshan had never been to those VIP lounge. Liang Fengshan liked to play with 21 points the most, so he walked straight to the 21 points gambling table in the VIP lounge. There were all kinds of people on the gambling table. Some were businessmen, some were high officials in the country, and some were leaders of gangs in Hong Kong and Macau. Many people did not know each other, but their fates were intertwined on such a small gambling table. Liang Fengshan sat down and saw a beautiful young woman wearing a short skirt with her hair tied up in a bun, sitting on his left side of a short and fat middle-aged man. Her appearance and figure were very outstanding. Liang Fengshan's gaze was immediately attracted when he saw this young woman. Although this young woman was much weaker than Li Ruolin, she was still very outstanding, especially when Liang Fengshan felt that there was a kind of lascivious aura coming from her body. This kind of woman was very lethal to men. When the woman sensed Liang Fengshan's gaze, not only did she not get angry, she even curled up the corner of her mouth. She looked at Liang Fengshan charmingly. Liang Fengshan, who never lacked women, could naturally see the teasing and invitation in the woman's eyes, and he immediately felt tempted. However, the bet had started at this moment. Liang Fengshan intended to show off in front of the woman. He smiled and pushed out 1,000,000 HKD worth of chips. As expected, when the woman saw Liang Fengshan throw out 1,000,000 HKD without even blinking, the surprise and charm in her eyes became even stronger. "Banker wins," the croupier said at this time. Because Liang Fengshan had bought Xian family this round, therefore, the 1 million was lost to the casino. However, he did not feel any regret. He did not even look at the chips that the croupier had taken away. He only smiled as he looked at the woman over there. Next, the woman also pushed out 100,000 Hong Kong dollars to buy the Xian family. Liang Fengshan smiled and took out another million HKD to buy bankers. The Xian family wins, the croupier said without any joy or anger, and then took away Liang Fengshan's bargaining chip. And just like that, whatever that gorgeous woman wanted to buy, Liang Fengshan would buy it from her. After a few rounds, there were wins and losses. In total, he had lost more than 3 million. Meanwhile, that woman had won more than 200,000. At this moment, the woman gave Liang Fengshan a deep look, then stood up from her chair, looking like she was about to leave. Liang Fengshan had no intention of gambling. He quickly stood up and followed the woman out of the VIP room. Liang Fengshan's 2 bodyguards immediately took back their chips and followed her out. The woman seemed to be waiting for Liang Fengshan. After leaving the VIP room, she stood in the corridor outside. Liang Fengshan opened the door and saw the woman. His face lit up. Before he could say anything, the woman walked over with a swaying posture. She looked at Liang Fengshan teasingly and said, "Handsome boy, why are you following me on purpose? What are you trying to do?" The short skirt on the woman's body was low-cut, which made her voluptuous breasts very eye-catching. Looking at the deep cleavage on her chest, Liang Fengshan secretly swallowed his saliva. At the same time, he smiled and said, "Miss, we just had fun gambling. Why are you leaving? It's so early. Why don't I accompany you to drink something?" Hee. The beautiful woman laughed until the flowers and branches trembled. Liang Fengshan's heart was filled with anger when he saw her trembling breasts. He only heard the beautiful woman say, "You little handsome boy, you want to kidnap me so soon? It's fine to drink, but you don't have to go to other places. Just go to my place. How about it?" Liang Fengshan nodded his head hastily. He thought to himself, this Hong Kong and Macau woman is really open-minded. She just brought him home. Thus, the beautiful woman brought Liang Fengshan away from the Macau hotel and came to a nearby 5-star hotel. It turned out that she came from Hong Kong and also stayed in the hotel. She followed the woman to the hotel. One of Liang Fengshan's bodyguards said worriedly, "Young master, that woman's background is unknown. If you want to follow her in, just follow her in." Liang Fengshan was already thinking about how he would mess with that woman later. How could he hear it? He waved his hand impatiently and said, all right. What can a woman like her do to me? My dad sent you to protect me, not to spoil my plans." At this time, the woman had already walked to the door of a room over there and opened the door. When she saw that Liang Fengshan was still in the elevator, she smiled and said, "What's wrong?" She was afraid that I would eat you, so she didn't dare to come in. Liang Fengshan said to his 2 bodyguards, "You 2 wait outside. If I have something to do, you can come in immediately. Don't worry about it." After saying that, he ran towards the woman impatiently. His 2 bodyguards looked at each other and shook their heads helplessly. They knew Liang Fengshan's temperament. At this time, no matter how they tried to persuade him, it would not work. They could only do what he said and wait outside the room. In the room, the woman poured a glass of wine for Liang Fengshan. She saw Liang Fengshan grab it and put it on the table next to him. He held the woman in his arms. Suddenly, there was a sound of fighting outside. There were also the sounds of the 2 bodyguards shouting for him. Liang Fengshan, who was in the midst of getting excited, said angrily, "What the hell is going on now? Don't you know that I am doing proper business?" As soon as he finished speaking, the door was kicked open by someone. A strong man with a ferocious face walked in aggressively and said fiercely, "What the hell are you doing?" When the woman saw the brawny man, her expression immediately changed drastically. She retreated to the bedside in fear and covered her body with a cup. Liang Fengshan also saw that his 2 bodyguards were being pressed down in the corridor outside the door. There was even a gun pointed at the back of their heads. When the brawny man saw Liang Fengshan naked on the bed, his face became even redder. He pointed at the woman and roared in a low voice, "Fine, you be *T6. I'll beat you to death outside so that you can wear gold and silver. I didn't expect you to steal men from outside." Liang Fengshan was shocked by the sudden turn of events, especially when 2 of his bodyguards were pressed to the ground. The other side even had a gun. Liang Fengshan knew that those 2 bodyguards were specially selected from the army by his father to protect him. However, because the border of Macau was stricter, they did not bring guns, which resulted in them being restrained. Judging from the tone of the brawny man, he did not sound like a police officer. So Liang Fengshan guessed that these people might be the local gangs in Macau. He also understood that as the most famous gambling den in Asia, Macau was a place where dragons and snakes mixed together. The gangs were even more rampant than Hong Kong and the mainland. The woman seemed to be very afraid of this brawny man. Even her face turned green. She pointed at Liang Fengshan, who was also naked on the bed, and said, "Hubby, no, it's not me. It's him. He forced me. He wanted to rape me." After saying that, tears flowed out of her eyes. Liang Fengshan's eyes widened. He never thought that this woman would turn the facts upside down. She was the one who seduced him to come to the hotel, but now she was saying that he raped her. He heard the burly man snorting coldly. "UB*TCH, don't you think I know your character? If you weren't F*King Slutty, why would I put you in bed for no reason?" When Liang Fengshan heard the words of the brawny man who was obviously the leader of the gangs, he really wanted to call him Big Brother. "You are truly wise." However, before he could show a happy expression, he felt his vision darken. At the same time, a crisp sound of "pa" rang out in the room. It was the burly man who slapped Liang Fengshan fiercely and said, "Although it was that B*T who made a scene, no one has ever dared to touch my Biao King's woman. You B***starred. I admire your courage." After that, Biao Wang shouted to his subordinates outside, "Bring this pair of B***cheese back." "Brother, that's not it." Liang Fengshan still wanted to say something, but Biao Wang's subordinates immediately knocked him out with their pistols. When Liang Fengshan regained his consciousness, he found himself in a dark room surrounded by messy items. In the air, there was also an unpleasant smell of mold. The light bulb hanging on the ceiling was still swaying, causing the room to flicker and give off a very unstable feeling. Furthermore, Liang Fengshan found that he was still completely naked, and his feet were also cuffed with iron chains. A strong sense of fear arose spontaneously, and he could not help but shout, "Help! Help! Find someone to save me!" After shouting twice, the door of the room was opened. The person that entered Liang Fengshan's line of sight was Biao Wang, the husband of the previous woman. Biao Wang looked at Liang Fengshan with a smile and said with a cold smile, "What? Now you know how to shout for help? I thought you really don't want your life anymore. How dare you touch my wife?" "Biao Wang, I really didn't know that was your wife." Liang Fengshan looked like he was on the verge of tears. Although his father was the governor of Jiangsu province, no one in Jiangsu dared to touch him. But this was the Macau, especially since it was a colony of Canada. Liang Fengshan didn't care about those people in the country at all, so he knew that as the young master of the province, it wouldn't be good for him to use his identity here. The King of Haste didn't pay any attention to his statement. He just smiled and said, "Since you dare to touch my wife, you naturally have to pay a price." As soon as he finished speaking, he saw a few people walk into the room and push Liang Fengshan to the ground. One of them even held an unusually sharp knife in his hand. The voice of the King of Haste became gloomy. "Castrate this guy. Let's see if he still dares to touch women in the future." When Liang Fengshan heard this, his heart tightened. He shouted at the top of his lungs, "Brother Biao Wang, don't. I will give you money. I will give you whatever you want. Don't castrate me." Being born in the family of officials, Liang Fengshan was a typical hedonistic son. He was good at money and alcohol, especially when it came to women. If he castrated him and made him unable to enjoy the lust of women in the future, it would be worse than taking his life. The man who held Liang Fengshan down said to the King of Haste, "Boss, if we castrate him, he might die from losing too much blood." Biao Wang immediately walked over and gave the subordinate who spoke up for Liang Fengshan a hard kick, causing him to fall to the ground. F***TKU. "You F***king ate my food and used mine. How dare you help an outsider now?" "No, that's not it, boss. I think he has 2 bodyguards with him. He might not be an ordinary person. If he dies, we will be in trouble too." The man explained. Biao Wang also rubbed his chin and hesitated when he heard that. Liang Fengshan also took the opportunity to say, "That's right, Biao Wang. My dad is the governor of Jiangsu. If you kill me, he will not let you off. Furthermore, Macau will return in 2 years." He. So what if he returns? Biao Wang, hate being threatened the most. Not to mention that your father is the provincial governor, even if he is the country's chairman. "I'm not afraid either," Biao Wang said fiercely. "It's fine if I don't castrate you, but I still have to teach you a lesson. Come, chop off one of his fingers." Liang Fengshan heaved a sigh of relief. At least, his grandson's root was much more important than his finger. If he really had to choose, he would choose his finger without hesitation. Just as he thought of this, a cold light flashed in front of his eyes. A cold pain immediately came from his right hand. He turned his head and saw that his right index finger had already left his body, and he immediately cried out in pain. At this moment, Biao Wang brought over a hand phone. He asked Liang Fengshan, who was convulsing in pain, "How much is your father's number?" Although Liang Fengshan's pain was unbearable, he would definitely suffer more torture until he disobeyed Biao Wang's words. Thus, he obediently told Liang Fengshan his dad's number. Biao Wang dialed the number and heard a calm male voice from the other side. "Hello, I'm Liang Zhoutang." The Gale King did not say anything. He just put the phone close to Liang Fengshan's ear and said to him, "Ask your father to transfer 10 million to this account." He also said an account. Liang Fengshan understood that this 10 million might be his life-saving money. He didn't dare hesitate and immediately told Liang Zhoutang. When Liang Zhoutang heard that his son had been arrested by the gangs, he was also very anxious. Furthermore, under the threat of Biao Wang, Liang Fengshan didn't dare to say which gang he was from. He only let Liang Zhoutang transfer the money to the designated account. Liang Fengshan was the only son of the Liang family. No matter how bad it was, Liang Zhoutang could not let his son die, so he immediately agreed to pay. However, 10 million was not a small amount. Liang Zhoutang's identity was very sensitive, so he could not openly transfer the money, so he had to do it tomorrow as soon as possible. After hanging up the phone, Biao Wang said to Liang Fengshan, "If your father obediently gives you the money, then I'll let you go. Otherwise, I'll chop off one of your fingers a day later. Hey Shtong, stay here and watch him." He Xiong was the man who spoke up for Liang Fengshan just now. After Biao Wang and his subordinates left the room, Liang Fengshan heaved a long sigh of relief. However, the pain in his hand was getting stronger and stronger. Blood kept spurting out from his mouth. When He Xiong saw him like this, he quickly found gauze and medicine. He simply bandaged him and finally stopped the bleeding. Although Liang Fengshan was not a good person, he knew that he could not afford to offend He Xiong now. He said weakly, "Thank you." He Xiong glanced at him and sighed. "You're really unlucky. You actually ran into our sister-in-law. That's a real disaster. Whoever runs into her will die." Earlier, a pretty boy who didn't know what was good for him had hooked up with her. Later, our boss found out and directly chopped him up and fed him to the dogs. Not even his bones were left. When Liang Fengshan heard this, he couldn't help but shiver. He originally thought that it was a blessing in disguise, but he didn't expect it to be a disaster. He comforted himself. "After my dad gives me money, your boss will let me go, right?" However, he saw He Xiong sneering. Liang Fengshan knew that something was not right, so he quickly asked, "Brother He Xiong, what's wrong?" He heard He Xiong say, "If you say that your dad is just an ordinary rich man, then it's nothing. Brother Biao Wang might even let you go. But you just had to tell him that your dad is the governor. If that's the case, he won't let you go." After a pause, he continued, "Just like you said, Macau will return in 2 years. At that time, Macau will be taken over by the continent. Your father's position at that time will probably be higher. At that time, won't you take revenge on Biao Wang?" Although the Biao King's influence in the Macau wasn't small, he wouldn't be able to fight against the higher-ups. And just now, he didn't want you to mention his name on the phone. So, your dad won't know which club arrested you. Upon hearing this, Liang Fengshan completely understood. In order to not let others know who arrested him, Biao Wang would definitely kill him to silence him. Liang Fengshan really wished he could slap himself twice. He regretted telling Biao Wang that his father was the provincial governor. At this time, he heard He Xiong say, "As long as the 10 million is in the account tomorrow, Biao Wang will kill you immediately. At that time, no one will know that he did it. Only then will he be able to rest in peace." Liang Fengshan was so scared that his heart almost stopped beating. He couldn't care less about the awkward situation where he was completely naked and immediately knelt down to He Xiong. "Brother He Xiong, you have to save me. If you save me, I will never forget you. I will let my dad give you an official, okay? You don't know, domestic officials are not as closely watched as Hong Kong and Macau. There are many opportunities to make a fortune." He Xiong laughed. "You don't need to introduce me. I know the benefits of being an official in China, because I came from China." Liang Fengshan was surprised to hear He Xiong say he was from the country. He had heard He Xiong and Biao Wang speak Cantonese very well, so he asked, "Brother He Xiong, are you from Cantonese?" He Xiong shook his head. "I'm from Jiangsu. I made some mistakes a few years ago, so I escaped here. I'm still a legal family now, so I followed Biao Wang." He glanced at Liang Fengshan and said in a very genuine Jiangsu accent, But Biao Wang is very difficult to serve. He often punches and kicks, and he is very suspicious. He often suspects that his subordinates want to sell him out. He killed a few people whom he suspected previously. If this continues, I'm afraid I will not be able to escape. Although Liang Fengshan was not an authentic Jiangsu person, he had followed Liang Zhoutang for so many years in Jiangsu. He could tell He Xiong's Jiangsu accent at first glance, so he also knew that what he said was true. Thus, he said even more forcefully, "Brother He Xiong, that's right. If you stay here, sooner or later you will be harmed by that Biao Wang. Why don't you come back to Jiangsu with me? Even if you can't become an official, you don't have to be in a precarious situation like now if you follow me." He knew that many people in the underworld were forced by life. In fact, many people didn't want to be in the underworld. But, back then, I accidentally killed a traffic policeman in Shangshui County in Salt City. Now, I'm still wanted. If we go back, He Xiong did not continue speaking, but looked at Liang Fengshan. Liang Fengshan immediately said, "It's just a small matter. I have already said that my father is the governor. If I can't even do this, would I still have the face to come out and meet people? Brother He Xiong, don't worry. Come back with me. I'll guarantee that you'll be able to eat and drink well." He Xiong lowered his head and pondered for a moment. Then, he gritted his teeth and said, "Fine, fine. Anyway, I've had enough of the days here. You don't know, after coming to Macau, I have learned how to gamble with Biao Wang. I still owe a few $100,000 to some clubs. If I don't follow you, I will be killed sooner or later. Boss, Liang, He Xiong will follow you from now on." Good, good, good. Liang Fengshan said the word good and then said, "But brother He Xiong, the most important thing right now is to leave this place. As long as we can return to the Pearl Sea, we don't have to be afraid." The black bear nodded. When it saw that Liang Fengshan was still squatting there awkwardly, it quickly took off its coat and gave it to him, barely covering its face. He said, "Boss, the people from Biao Wang should still be waiting outside. I'll bring you out later." Liang Fengshan knew that all his hopes were placed on He Xiong, so he hurriedly nodded his head. What he said before was not just to show off He Xiong. If He Xiong could really save him, he would also let He Xiong follow him back to Jiangsu. The night was getting darker and darker. Through the small window of the storeroom, Liang Fengshan could see the crescent moon hanging high in the night sky. He was the only one left in the storeroom. Just now, He Xiong took the opportunity to find the guards outside to drink after Biao Wang left. He planned to take Liang Fengshan away after getting drunk with his subordinates. Liang Fengshan calculated in his heart. At least 2 hours had passed, and from time to time, the laughter and clinking of cups could be heard from outside. He was secretly anxious, and he hated how those people did not get drunk after such a long time. He did not know how much time had passed. The sound outside slowly quieted down, and the door of the storeroom was gently pushed open. Liang Fengshan was pleasantly surprised to see He Xiong coming in with a set of clothes in his hand. He said happily, "He Xiong, are they drunk?" He Xiong nodded. He came over and unlocked the iron chains on Liang Fengshan's feet, then let him wear that set of clothes. After quietly walking out of the storeroom, Liang Fengshan saw that all of Biao Wang's subordinates were lying on the table. The air was filled with the strong smell of alcohol. He turned to He Xiong and said, "He Xiong, your alcohol tolerance is really good. You actually made them drunk." He Xiong shook his head. "I would occasionally go to the toilet to choke on my throat and spit out the alcohol. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to get drunk." Hearing He Xiong's very hoarse voice, Liang Fengshan also knew that it wasn't easy for him. He felt grateful in his heart. After leaving this building, Liang Fengshan found out that this was an ordinary residential area. No wonder. No one would have thought that someone would be kidnapped here. When they went downstairs, the two of them got into an old Toyota. He Xiong planned to drive directly to the Pearl Sea. Only by returning to the country could he be considered to be truly safe. Macau was not big. Liang Fengshan estimated that he would be able to return to the Pearl Sea in half an hour. In the car, his originally nervous mood slowly relaxed. He said to He Xiong, "He Xiong, it was all thanks to you that I was able to escape this time. Don't worry, after returning to Jiangsu, I won't treat you unfairly." He Xiong nodded gratefully. "Thank you, boss." After the conversation, Liang Fengshan knew He Xiong's original name was Ding Guangxiang. Since he was darker, he had the nickname He Xiong. He was originally a truck driver in Shangshui County, Jiangsu Salt City. Later, he was intercepted by the traffic police during an overload and accidentally killed the traffic policeman. Ding Guangxiang knew that if he was caught, he would definitely not be able to come out. Furthermore, he had no parents and was not married yet. Thus, he immediately fled to Macau and became Biao Wang's subordinate. Don't worry. After we return, I will immediately get someone to cancel your case. Then you don't have to worry, Liang Fengshan said. At that moment, He Xiong saw a Toyota car rushing over from the mirror. He said, "Oh no, Biao Wang is coming. Boss, sit tight." After saying that, He Xiong stepped on the accelerator and the car sped up. Liang Fengshan also saw the Toyota car behind him. He also vaguely saw that it was Biao Wang. He was shocked. Now that they had gradually moved away from the city, they saw a subordinate in Biao Wang's car reach out of the window. He held a gun in his hand and aimed at Liang Fengshan's car. He fired several times in a row. "Boss, get down," He Xiong shouted. Liang Fengshan also quickly bent down and lied down. Fortunately, He Xiong's driving skills were very good. He barely dodged those bullets a few times. Bang! The good time did not last long. The tire on the back of He Xiong's car was hit. The car immediately shook and became very unstable. The car slowed down very quickly and was caught by Biao Wang's car. Liang Fengshan was shocked in his heart. It wasn't easy for him to escape from the tiger's mouth. If he was caught by Biao Wang again, he wouldn't be able to avoid suffering and his life would be in danger. However, after the tires exploded, it was very difficult for the car to go far. In the end, it finally stopped by the roadside. The Racing King's car immediately blocked the front of He Xiong's car. He got out of the car with his two subordinates and pointed his gun at He Xiong and Liang Fengshan, signaling them to get out of the car. Helpless, Liang Fengshan and He Xiong had no choice but to obediently get out of the car. Biao Wang kicked He Xiong to the ground and cursed, "F***you. I have raised you for so long. This is how you repay me." With that, he placed the gun on top of He Xiong's head. He Xiong knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. "Boss, please let me go. I won't dare." Biao Wang turned around and looked at Liang Fengshan, who was caught by his subordinate. "You pretty boy. You are really amazing. Not only did you trick my woman into bed, you also kidnapped my subordinates. Amazing, amazing." While he was distracted, He Xiong, who was kneeling on the ground, suddenly jumped up and punched Biao Wang in the stomach. At the same time, he took the gun from his hand and pointed it at Biao Wang's temple. Biao Wang's two subordinates immediately pulled out their guns. He Xiong shouted, "Don't move, or I will kill him with one shot. Don't move, don't move." Did you hear that? The king of racing beasts also shouted at his subordinates. Just as he was about to speak to He Xiong directly punched him. "Don't give me that nonsense. I've had enough of you in the past few years." Liang Fengshan was pleasantly surprised. He didn't expect the situation to turn around like this. He quickly broke free from the two men and came behind He Xiong. He Xiong didn't say anything. He immediately fired a few shots at Biao Wang's two men. Unfortunately, they were about to negotiate with He Xiong and ask him to let go of Biao Wang, but they didn't expect He Xiong to be so cruel and merciless. He didn't even want to negotiate and just killed Biao Wang. Gale King was also startled. Before he could react, He Xiong kicked him away and said with a face full of hatred, "Boss, goodbye." He Xiong, don't. Racing King was about to say something. Bang, bang, bang. 3 gunshots and 3 bullets were shot into Biao Wang's chest. Before Biao Wang could finish his sentence, he fell to the ground and died. Liang Fengshan was also dumbfounded. He did not expect He Xiong to kill 3 people in a row without even blinking. However, he saw He Xiong suddenly fall down and sit down. His forehead was full of sweat, and his hand that was holding the gun kept shaking. It was obvious that he did not feel good either. "He Xiong, let's hurry up and leave." Liang Fengshan was worried that Biao Wang's other subordinates would catch up, so he reminded He Xiong. He Xiong nodded and sat in Biao Wang's car with Liang Fengshan. They drove straight towards Haizhu. In the car, Black Xiong said to Liang Fengshan, "Boss, now that I've killed Biao Wang and the others, I won't be able to return to Macau in the future." Liang Fengshan understood what he meant and said, "Don't worry, I won't treat you badly when we return to Jiangsu." This was what Liang Fengshan meant from the bottom of his heart. After all, he had experienced this incident. He had survived a great disaster and had gone through a lot of hardships with He Xiong. However, what he didn't know was that after their car had gone far away, Biao Wang and the other 2, who were supposed to have died, strangely sat up on the ground. The Biao King ripped open his clothes and saw that there was a bulletproof vest inside his shirt. He let out a sigh and took the phone from his subordinate and dialed a number. "Mr. Zhou, it's done." "Is that so? Is everything settled?" Zhou Hao held the phone with a smile on his face. Biao Wang's respectful voice came from the other side of the phone. "Mr. Zhou, the 10 million has been transferred to your account." "Look." Zhou Hao naturally knew what Biao Wang meant. So he smiled and said, "Then the 10 million will be your reward. However, you all can't stay in Macau for a short period of time." I know, I know. We will never spoil your good deed, Mr. Zhou." Biao Wang's attitude was completely different from the fierce and brutal attitude he had towards Liang Fengshan. Instead, he was completely subservient. "Mr. Zhou, that Liang Fengshan still has 2 bodyguards with us. Do you want us to?" A cold light flashed across Zhou Hao's eyes. "I don't want them to affect my plan." Okay. I know what to do now," Biao Wang said hurriedly. After ending the call, Zhou Hao clenched his fist and crushed the phone. Especially the phone card, there was no way it could be restored. "Zhou Hao, what are you doing? Come here." Liang Xiaobing's voice came from the other side. "Oh, okay." Zhou Hao replied and threw the fragment of the phone into the garbage bin, then turned around and walked towards Liang Xiaobing and the others. There was a big banquet hall over there. Other than Liang Xiaobing, there were many other people, including the staff of the Sea King Records Company, which was in charge of the distribution of the records in the Hong Kong region, as well as the representatives of the famous record companies in Hong Kong. Even Ai Yongxiao and Liao Shufan had come. This was a celebration banquet specially held for Liang Xiaobing. The Sea King Records Company had spent a lot of money to produce the first personal album, Records, and had gotten a very good result. The song with the same name on this personal album was Chronicles, which Zhou Hao had specially composed for Liang Xiaobing. There was also the female version of Love Me Don't Go, and the original by Zhou Hao in the name of Zijun and Love Me Don't Go. In addition, the English song that she had sung with Su Lin, Toniglyphal Closius, was very popular. Just in Hong Kong, Liang Xiaobing's Chronicles album was sold for 500,000 pieces. According to Hong Kong's 50,000 standard platinum records, Liang Xiaobing's score was a total of 110 platinum records. The sales in Taiwan were even higher. Up until now, she had sold close to 700,000 platinum records. This result caused an uproar in the increasingly declining Hong Kong music industry. Liang Xiaobing also changed from a television series artist to a singer who shocked the world with a single move. Chronicles, Love Me Don't Go, as well as Toniglyphal Closius all had a clear rhythm and a very high frequency of songs. Liang Xiaobing's voice was not inferior to any other female singer, and her singing talent was also high, so she created such a good result. Under the circumstances where all the major radio stations were competing to watch the live broadcast, besides Liang Xiaobing's popularity, Zhou Hao, this Zijun, also received a lot of attention. Zijun also received a lot of attention. Zijun also received a lot of attention. Firstly, Zhou Hao was able to subdue all the composers of Hong Kong's music industry by creating a song. Secondly, Zhou Hao deliberately did not appear in public. His mysterious nature also made the townsfolk very curious. In the music industry, there were even people who called Zhou Hao Zijun the successor of Huang Duong and Gu Jiahui. Liang Xiaobing's success had made Sea King Records famous with one shot. After that, Sea King Records used its huge financial backing, as well as the powerful social network of New Ian, to recruit many new singers. Due to Zhou Hao's instructions, the album released by the company for every singer had to be refined in order to make every album released by the company into a fine product. Because at this early stage of development, Zhou Hao did not ask for Sea King Records to be able to make profits. Instead, he wanted to establish a good image of the Sea King's product. It must be the best. Therefore, the employees in the company were very strict with each singer's album. In addition to some of Zhou Hao's compositions from time to time, Sea King's Records became more and more famous on Hong Kong. It was getting closer and closer to Sony, Globe, and other large record companies. Liang Xiaobing was wearing a long black dress with a shoulder-length evening dress at the celebration banquet. Her long hair was on the left side of her chest. She looked noble and charming, especially under the bright light. She was as eye-catching as a pearl. "Sai, I have only been in France for a while and you have changed so much. The power of love is really great." Beside Liang Xiaobing, her close friend Wang Weiwen sighed. After returning from France, Wang Weiwen continued to be Liang Xiaobing's manager, but now he was no longer an employee of Wireless Television Limited, but an employee of Sea King Records. He moved closer to Liang Xiaobing's ear and whispered, "Xiaobing, tell me honestly, does Zhou Hao always moisten you?" TSK. You are so much prettier now. I almost didn't recognize you when I just came back." Liang Xiaobing naturally knew what Wang Weiwen meant by moisturizing. She blushed slightly and said, "Really? Of course it's true. Just look at those men's eyes, and you will know. They are like a weasel that sees a hen." Wang Weiwen looked at the gazes of those people who were looking at Liang Xiaobing with ridicule. In fact, ever since Liang Xiaobing had Zhou Hao's nourishment, her appearance and temperament had obviously changed. The most obvious thing was that her figure had become plump. The aura on her body also revealed a charming charm. She was much more charming than before when she knew Zhou Hao. Liang Xiaobing looked at Zhou Hao, who was chatting with an Ai Yongxiao. Her eyes were filled with happiness. After a while, Zhou Hao returned to Liang Xiaobing's side. Liang Xiaobing hugged Zhou Hao's hand. The two of them looked both male and female, making the surrounding people very envious. "How, what are you talking about with Mr. and I? I saw you guys talking so seriously." Liang Xiaobing asked. Zhou Hao smiled and said, "Haha, it's nothing. It's just some business matters." Wang Weiwen handed a glass of champagne to Zhou Hao and smiled at him. "Zhou Hao, you took me to Sixth Uncle's house and said you wanted to sink Wireless Television Limited's aircraft carrier. I thought you were impulsive at that time, but now it seems that you really want to achieve this goal." "Of course, I'm a man of my word," Zhou Hao said with a smile. "I saw the news about the Asia Television Limited and the wireless lawsuit. Ha ha ha, this is really satisfying." Wang Weiwen said, "By the way, where's Miss Su? Why didn't I see her today?" Zhou Hao said, "There are still things to do in Asia Television Limited. She couldn't leave, so she didn't come over." Apart from the Sea King Records, Su Lin, Xian Jiwei, and the other leaders of the Asia Television Limited weren't any weaker than them. I Have a Date with Zombies had already been filmed and officially broadcasted. Just as Zhou Hao had expected, Yin Tianzhao, Wan Qiwen, and the others were indeed the most suitable people to play this TV series. Furthermore, unlike Zhou Hao's previous life Zombie, Asia Television Limited had allocated sufficient funds to the zombie production crew. The effects of the special skills in the movie were also jointly completed by more than 10 young people who had just finished studying in the United States. The effects were much better than Zhou Hao's Zombie. Due to the previous lawsuit with the Wireless Television Limited, the Asia Television Limited had been in the limelight. Therefore, many citizens were looking forward to the Zombie that Asia Television Limited had publicized for a long time. And Zombie did not disappoint Zhou Hao. In the first week, he obtained an average of 30 points, which made the Wireless, who wanted to watch the Asia Television Limited embarrass himself, drop his glasses in surprise. In his previous life, Zombies had set off a wave of zombies in Hong Kong. At this time, Zhou Hao also planned to do what Japanese anime did, so that zombies would attract the attention of the surrounding commodities. When filming Zombies, Asia Television Limited had already followed Zhou Hao's instructions and found the manufacturers to produce the models of the various characters in Zombies. In order to deal with the Asia Television Limited that was rising faster and faster, Wireless had also taken many measures accordingly. For example, broadcasting the highlights in advance to compete with Zombies. Although under the influence of inertia, the viewership rating of Wireless was still slightly higher than that of Asia Television Limited. However, Zhou Hao was confident that it wouldn't take long for Asia Television Limited to overtake Wireless. Furthermore, it wouldn't be for the time being, but to completely leave Wireless behind. "Come, cheers for you sinking the spacecraft carrier." Wang Weiwen raised his cup to Zhou Hao. "All right, cheers." Zhou Hao also raised his glass. Many of the people from other recording companies present were those who had watched Zhou Hao play Love Me Don't Go live, so they knew that Zhou Hao was the Zijun that they had heard in the street during this period of time. They all wanted to pull Zhou Hao to their company because of his excellent appearance, temperament, and creative ability. However, even though they didn't know that Zhou Hao was the boss of North Pole Star, they knew that he had a close relationship with Xian Ian and the Union Society. Even if Sony, Globe, and other record companies were large multinational corporations, they did not dare to offend the two large gangs in Hong Kong, so they did not dare to threaten Zhou Hao. After the celebration banquet ended, many reporters outside wanted to interview Liang Xiaobing, a popular singer who had recently risen to fame. Therefore, it was not convenient for Zhou Hao to send her home personally to avoid being caught by the paparazzi. After instructing Wang Weiwen to send Liang Xiaobing back to his villa, Zhou Hao avoided the reporters at the front door and left through the back door of the hotel. He thought that Su Lin should have already returned by now. Zhou Hao originally planned to buy some sweet soup for her, but when he passed by a bar, he saw a few men and women surrounding a woman in front of the bar. The woman who was surrounded had light footsteps, obviously drunk. When he saw the woman, Zhou Hao was slightly stunned. Because that woman was Su Jinxing's wife, He Shuiyan. He Shuiyan had obviously drunk quite a bit of wine. Her originally snow-white face had a tinge of pink, which made her look as beautiful as a plum blossom in the snow. The few men and women surrounding her all had gloating looks in their eyes. One of the short-haired girl who looked to be in her early 20s pointed at He Shuiyan and sneered, "He Shuiyan, look at you. Didn't you always claim to be the daughter of a noble family? Look at your current appearance. What's the difference between you and those hookers outside? She crossed her arms and looked high and mighty. You are the same as your mother. You are both pretending to be a whore. You were born to be a slut who likes to seduce men. This woman's words were very vicious. After He Shueyun heard her unpleasant words, her flushed face became even more attractive because of the alcohol. She stared at the woman and said, "You are not allowed to insult my mother. My mother is not like what you said." Humph, humph, humph. She is not that kind of person? That woman coldly snorted and said, "If she is not that kind of person, then what kind of person is she?" She knew that my father was a married man but still came over. Isn't your mother a slut? Just like those 3B** cheese.